businesses and stuff like that. And I think that that stuff is extremely important. I think that that's something you want to aim for. But one of the things I can tell you is that any business owner will tell you that there are downsides to that. Anytime you're mixing, family or friends with money, you're really, if you're not careful, you could be mixing, grease with fire. So a grease fire by dumping more grease on it and making things a little crazier. I do know, for example, that when I was just a regular old Boyce and I didn't have any money, my friends saw me one way. And then when people start to believe that you have a lot of money, they start to deal with you in a whole different way, to the point where you don't really know who your friends are, to be honest with you. You don't know who's really, hanging out with you because they really just think you're great and they love you and they care about you, versus people that are seeing, a financial opportunity and all that good stuff. And I'm gonna tell you, it's not easy. It can be so hurtful and so difficult, and you lose friends over money. And it's something where you think, and this is important for you to know this, because all of you in here, everybody in here, everybody on the YouTube channel and stuff like that, I'm always talking to all of you in a way where I know that you are the trendsetter in your family. You're the person that's gonna go out and do something great. You're gonna start a great business. You're gonna go out and conquer the world. But I just want to let you know, when Diddy says more money, more problems, that is true. But then also it's even deeper than that. Money overlaps your relationships. For example, and I'm going to get into the presentation in a second. But for example, loaning money to friends and family is one of those things where, I would almost say, don't do it unless the person that you're loaning money to understands the gravity of you loaning them their money. By the way, hey Lawrence, I'm going to go ahead and remove you. I don't know if you're intentionally in the live stream or not, but I'm going to go ahead and hit the remove button. And if you get removed, you can come back in on your own. So let me know if I'm doing the wrong thing. All right. But what I will say is that, loaning money to relatives and friends and family is a very dangerous thing. If the person that you're loaning money to is not aware of, what that means. If you're loaning money to somebody who is not capable of financial responsibility, then don't do it. Because what's going to happen is it's going to get real when you come back and say, hey, I need my money. And if they think that you've got big money in your pocket and it's not a big deal, and you're not even noticing that you loaned them $1,000 and they never paid it back, then there's going to be a lot of tension, and some people have an easy time just being the jerk and saying, give me my damn money, or I'm gonna come kick your butt. I've never been that person. So I grew up kind of under the assumption that if you borrow money, then you know that you're supposed to pay it back. I don't know anything about borrowing money from people and then acting like it never happened. So I kind of ran into weird situations. Like, I'm just being real with you. I'm keeping it 100 with you guys in the business advice. So I kind of got to the point where I said, I treat money, it's almost like somebody hitting on you. Like, you ever have a situation where you got a friend? I had a friend like that who had she had a really good male friend, and her male friend, that they hung out for 10 years or so. And one day he said, hey girl, I'd like to kind of get closer, get to know you better. You know what that means? And she kind of said, no, I'm not going to do this. And he said, well, why not? We get along so well. This is great. She said, because I know that you don't take physical relationships as seriously as I do. And I don't think you can handle the responsibility that comes with what I'm about to give you access to, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, she felt that he didn't have the ability to actually, to actually understand what that means when it comes to, commitment, when it comes to the expectations a woman might have for you, things like that. And and so she said, no, to save our friendship, I like you. I think you're attractive. I think you're a great guy. But because I value our friendship, I'm not going to do this, because I know how you are with women. And I know that you are not a person that's going to take the responsibility that comes with this elevated relationship seriously enough. And I'm going to get mad at you, and I'm going to have to go to a point where I never speak to you again. Right. So anyway, let me ask the people. I have some people on my team that were going to come in and back me up on the webinar. Lawrence, I just saw Ricky come in. I don't know why Ricky came in, but maybe you guys can figure that out in the background. Just maybe shoot me a Facebook message or something so I can kind of know what's going on. I don't know why Ricky just magically popped up. But let me know if everything's set up right and you guys are okay with moving forward. The other thing I'll say too is that when it comes to money or anything like that. The other thought about it is that you want to make sure that you that you understand, when you get to the point that you are doing better financially, your friends are not going to see you the same. They're going to see you. They'll either maybe think some of them may think that you're not attached anymore. You don't understand what's going on. You're not as cool as you used to be. Some of them may be upset because they have financial problems and you're not able to help as much as you want. And then some people may see you as kind of an ATM machine. Okay, well, I can come and ask you for a lot of money, but I wouldn't ask my other friends for that much money, but I'm gonna ask you because I know you got it like that. Let me tell you a little story about that, and then we'll dig into the webinar for today. I had a friend who started a small company with just a few dollars. He quit his job and he started his own business, and it did really well. I mean, he took off like a rocket, and he ended up making, literally in the first couple of years, he was making $2 or $3 million a year. In the next 5 years, he was making, I think, $10 million a year, and he got up to almost $20 million a year in annual revenue. It was like 15 to 20 million. So he was making insane amounts of money. So his thing was, he was from the hood, and his feeling was, yeah, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna take care of all my friends. I'm gonna take care of my boys. I'm gonna take care of my family. So he brought in like a lot of the people that he grew up with. He had friends and relatives who had GEDs who were making like $200,000 a year. And so what happened though, which was a huge mistake, right? So what happened eventually was, he had all these financial obligations. Right? He was paying out probably, $200,000 a month to all these people that worked for him. He had a gigantic staff and a big office and everything. And he didn't understand that a lot of times what goes up does come down. So you have to keep that in mind. So what happened was, eventually times got tough. Revenue dropped. Before, his revenue was, an insane amount of money. Like it was, he was making the 20 million a year. Then it dropped to maybe 12 million, right? Which is a lot of money. But, when your expenses are already at 13 million, then 12 million isn't enough money. So he started having to make cuts. He started going to his friends, the people that he grew up with, the people that he'd been taking care of, the people that he put literally hundreds of thousands of dollars in their pocket, the ones where he sacrificed for them in a million different ways. And basically he went to them and he said, hey, money's tight. Can I, is there some way I can, pay you a little less? I know I agreed to pay you 200,000 a year. Can I pay you 150,000, whatever. And he said, I was stunned because my friends were like, hell no. What are you trying to do? You're trying to screw me? What's wrong with you? You're disloyal. You're a jerk. You're a blah, blah, blah. And he was telling me, he's like, look, I'm sorry. I want to pay you. I'm going to pay you. You have a GED. You're making 200,000 a year. You're still going to make 150. And they were still, some of the people were still giving him resistance. And it was almost like, he said, I was stunned because he said, the people that attacked me the most, that talked about me the most, that dogged me the most, were the people that I had gone to bat for the most. These are the people that I had given the most money. And I was so fascinated by this story because you don't get to hear a lot of millionaire black stories. I'm talking about self-made millionaires. I'm not talking about basketball players and all that, because that's just, you got a paycheck from a white guy. That's not the same as building a company with your bare hands that eventually makes $15-20 million a year. That's a whole different mindset. And so when I heard that story, I was trying to think about it. I was like, how do we get to a space where the people that you help the most are the ones that tried to harm you the most? And I figured it out. What it is that when you start, bringing your family members in and your friends and your relatives in, and you start saying, hey, I want to help you out. I'm gonna give you a job, right? Just understand you're creating a dependency. In the Black community, we have a very dependent mindset. We have a very employee-based mindset. And this is going to go into the conversation we're going to have today about children and how we can get our kids out of that. We are the best employees on earth. We are the best in the world when it comes to seeking out a job. We're the best in the world when it comes to filling out that application. We're the best in the world when it comes to showing up to work on time. We're the best in the world when it comes to going to the job fairs. We're the best in the world when it comes to hooking each other up with opportunities at jobs. Like, we just smell it out because we have since birth been trained and conditioned to search out jobs the same way a cat searches out a mouse, right? And so what happens is that when you become that person who builds the business, this is really important. This is why what you're doing as future business owners is so important for the community. Yet it is not for the faint of heart. This is not something that everybody should be trying to do, because you're going to have to be mentally strong. Is that you become the tent pole for all the people around you. The tent pole is the tallest pole in the tent. It's the one that holds the whole tent up. If the tent pole falls, the whole tent falls. Right. And other people, maybe due to our low economic self-esteem, others don't see themselves as tent poles. They see themselves as beneficiaries of the tent pole, right? Almost like with the Chicago Bulls, Michael Jordan was such a great player that unfortunately his greatness had the side effect of sometimes disempowering the other players on the team, where they would sit on the perimeter and just watch Jordan play. They wouldn't position for a rebound. They wouldn't try to get open for a pass. They wouldn't try to take a shot. They would just sit and watch Jordan score all the points, right? So some of you are in a position where you either are or you're becoming the Michael Jordans of your family. Your children are going to be the Michael Jordans of their community. And the thing is that they have that saying that says, heavy is the head that wears the crown. That the person who's wearing, that the person who's designated as the king or the queen is the one who's going to have the greatest burden on their shoulders, because they're going to have so many people who don't feel empowered to step up and help them. They're only going to feel like it's their job to reach out and ask for more support, right? Our community, unfortunately, because of the way we've been conditioned, we're searching for Superman. We're always searching for the superhero. We're looking for the person that can just carry everybody. And I want to tell you, number one, don't think that way. If you have a relative or a loved one that goes and starts a business, understand not only do they have as many problems as you, they probably have more problems than you. So the best way to get in their good graces is to show up and say, what can I do to help? How can I help? Can I buy something? Can I give you some contacts? Can I come in and give you some free labor to help you get going? What can I do for you? That's the best way to network. If you show up saying, what can you do for me? Then a person who's doing well, a person who's accomplished something is going to slam the door right in your face. I know that when, because it's a dime a dozen, you're a dime a dozen. I get 100 people a week asking me to do things for them, but it's that person who reaches out and says, hey brother, how can I help you? What can I do? How can I support you? That's the person you say, thank you, man. Thank you. It's so stressful. That I appreciate you having my back on this. I owe you big time, right? That's the first thing. Second thing is, when you go into that space, just understand, when you start linking money with friends and family, you're complicating that relationship. And what will happen is that if you say, hey, I'm going to pay you $3,000 a month or whatever, they're going to literally create financial obligations where they are dependent on that $3,000 a month. They're not going to necessarily have a bunch of streams of income where they can go do other things. So if you come back later on and you can't maintain that obligation, and you say, hey, I know I was paying you $3,000 a month. Can I give you $2,500 because money's tight? They're going to be tempted to cuss you out. Why would they do that? Why would they feel that way, given that you've done more for them probably than all their friends? Well, the reason they would do that is because they are stressing out over the fact that they have not positioned themselves for financial independence or security. Almost nobody does. And so instead, they've got to the point where they've got $3,000 worth of bills that are now coming in every month that are dependent upon you paying paying them the money that you agreed to pay them, right? So ultimately, the dependency cycle kind of continues, and that's what helped me understand why my friend was so hurt by the way some of his best buddies had abandoned him when times got really hard. So that's just me sharing a real story with you based on real stuff that I see as an entrepreneur. It's tough. It's draining. I don't regret it. I love being an entrepreneur, but I'm gonna tell you like this: it is not the same as being an employee. It's a different world, and so be ready for that. Be ready for that. Get counseling and coaching on that so you know how to deal with that. Now, somebody says your screen is rotated on Instagram. Okay, it's rotated. Okay, well, let me see if I can flip this around. If you're on, some of you guys are watching on drboycetv.com. If you want to see the slides and you're on either Facebook or Instagram, if you want to see my slides, just go to drboycetv.com and you can see the slides. And I don't know how to unrotate this on Instagram, so I'm sorry, guys. Am I sideways on IG? If I'm sideways, then just forgive me for being sideways, because I didn't know if this was going to happen. So let me set this up. And let's get to the conversation. Now, y'all know I just keep it authentic. So I think the best way for me to be as helpful to you as possible is to talk to you about real things in the real world. And I'm not here to just be fake and make stuff up and tell you that everything's always wonderful. I'm here to tell you that I've dealt with real stuff that has been really, really hurtful. and it doesn't, it just comes with the territory, but it's something that you want to just be ready for. All right. So anyway, let me jump in here and see if I can share my screen, share my slides, so we can have this conversation. I want to see who's in the chat room. Let me see who came into the chat. Let's see. Derek says salute from Philadelphia. The A, B, and C was fire. Well, thank you very much, Derek. I appreciate it. Let me see here. Who else is in here? Say something. Just let me know. Say hello. Also, if you're on YouTube or anywhere else, please hit the thumbs up button or the share button. And give me 1 second here. I'm going to send a quick note to the team as well so that they can kind of know, or I can know what they're doing. They can know what I'm doing, because we're actually doing a presentation today. So I want to make sure I have the right backup. Give me 1 second here. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So let's get started. Okay. So I see Sherry from Texas and Lorena Shepherd. How you doing, Lorena? And David, Black billionaires of tomorrow in the house. I love it. I love it. Well, the thing is that what you got to understand about wealth and wealth building and everything else is that, people don't get rich quickly in America. Usually most people that get rich don't get rich quickly. They get rich very, very slowly. So, if you come in here thinking that, that all this is like sort of a quick and dirty process where you just get a bunch of money and it all happens really fast, you've got the wrong idea, and you're going to be very disappointed. Most of the people that I know who were able to go from poverty to financial success are typically people who took a different path. People who who didn't march to the beat of the same drummer as everybody else. These were people that got rid of the slave thinking that is given to us as Black people. And also, maybe if they were lucky, they had parents that prepared them to think like a free Black person, not like a slave. And I'm a big believer on that. In fact, I'm a big believer that if you are Black, you need to be breaking rules your whole life. If you're Black and you want to be successful, you got to be breaking rules. The best slaves, the strongest slaves are the ones who broke all the rules on the plantation. Sure, there's consequences. I mean, you ain't never going. Massa wasn't happy when you broke rules 250 years ago. He ain't gonna be happy now. But who cares about making Massa happy? That's rule number one to break as a Black person that wants to be successful is stop trying to impress white people. Stop trying to make them happy with you. Stop trying to make them think that you are a good person. Stop trying to make them think that you're worthy. Stop trying to look to them for your validation. Teach your kids that from jump, because if you get them away from that psychological chain, that psychological hurdle that they carry with them through life, it's a burden, then that right there is a huge step toward freedom. So anyway, so here's one of the things I want to go through. Basically, I want to talk about some myths about success when it comes to kids. If you want to see the slides, you can go to drboycetv.com. I'm live streaming the slides. Secret number one, these are sort of 3 secrets to getting your kids to the top of the pile, making them successful when it comes to wealth and all that stuff. Number one, there's this whole myth about working hard and studying hard to become successful, that traditional education will get you to the top. I'm going to explain to you why that's complete BS, why that doesn't work, and why it's wrong. Number 2, a lot of people think that in order to make a child successful, you got to kill their other dreams. You don't have to kill the sports dream to allow the financial literacy dream to live. You don't have to kill the entertainment dream to allow the millionaire dream to thrive. Like, you don't have to kill the dream of being in the NBA in order for your child to want to go on and to become a great entrepreneur. There are plenty of great entrepreneurs who are former NBA players. Okay. In fact, I know a guy who is a very high-ranking official at a major sports company who he makes millions of dollars a year. And and the cool thing about it is that we get to talk a lot about all the professional athletes who are so interested in business because they've heard from people like him or people like me, and they know that there's another option. And I'm gonna talk a little bit about that today. Third, with our kids, one of the things that's important about raising millionaire kids is that you got to get them off the path of thinking that other kids are on right now. Right now, a lot of kids are very distracted. Their attention span is very, very short. They're spending all their time, a lot of time on social media, but they don't understand anything about the business of social media. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that and what I do with the kids in my house. I teach them on a regular basis about how social media is used to make money. So they'll be sitting there watching YouTube all day. I'll say, well, that person who made that video with 10 million views, they're probably making about $10 million a year. And then they say, well, how's that happen? How do they do that? And I say, well, let me explain that to you. Okay, so what we do on a regular basis in the household is we're always talking about financial concepts in a very casual, very subtle way, so that they think that this is the way every household is run. Now, the thing I want to address right now, real quick, before we get started, I want to ask your permission on this, is the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is that I'm going to tell you about our kids programs, and I'm hopefully going to be able to persuade you to consider allowing the Black Business School to be your vehicle to prepare your children for the future. We make no illusion about this. We are a business school, just like Harvard, just like Yale, just like Stanford, except we're better because we're trained specifically to solve one problem, and that is the problem of Black economic inequality, or the problem of Black people not having the wealth that we deserve, or the problem of Black people not being able to transfer our wealth generationally, or the problem of our actual generational wealth going down. We're solving a critical problem in the community. The wealth gap is not closing. The wealth gap is actually growing. Go look at the data, and it's not growing because of what poor people are doing. It's growing because of what middle class and upper class Black people are doing, which is spending their money in very, very bad ways, going deep in debt when it comes to student loans, not starting businesses, never learning how to invest. So that's why we're here. And I am going to pitch this to you, and I hope that you'll consider letting us be the first university that your child attends. I did not meet my first Black college professor till I was 19 years old. I was so shocked when I saw him come out of the office that I literally thought that he was the janitor coming out of the professor's office. I asked him, I said, I'm looking for Dr. Tommy Whitler. He said, I'm Tommy Whitler. I said, you are? And I was stunned because I did not expect that this Black man was the teacher. And I was 19 years old. So the thing is, though, if you give your child a head start and expose them to Black professors like me, or Dr. Venetia Dutra, or Attorney Tanya Nebo, or et cetera, or Dr. Shauna Etienne at an early age, it changes their thinking. So let's keep going. All right, so let me give you a quick disclaimer. Basically, I figured out a lot about how kids can become financially literate at an early age. Also, I used to just want to work a job and have a side hustle, but I was actually able to go into business and do well, and it wasn't the financial benefits were not what actually excited me the most. It was really the freedom. I thought the money was what would matter the most, but it wasn't the money. It was actually that happiness, getting up every day, doing what I wanted to do with the people that I actually care about, and being around my people more. That was something that really helped me in my peace of mind, because as a Black man, I see a lot of other middle-aged Black men who are dying, literally dying, because they can't handle the stress of going to work every day and being treated like a little boy. And now, so I'm not guaranteeing that this is going to turn your child into a prodigy. That's going to be up to you. I can't guarantee that your child is going to be rich overnight. That's up to you. But there are options that you should consider that will make a difference with your kids. In fact, that's why me and my brother and my sister were different from a lot of my mother's friends, because they raised us different. You must do different to get different. That's a rule. So let's just be clear. You guys know me. Some of you do. If you don't, then you'll get to know. I may end up offending you. You may get in your feelings. It's okay. I got feelings too. I laid my feelings out for you in the very beginning, telling you about my recent reflections on money, on friendships and money, and just sort of how that dynamic works. So it's okay to get offended. It's okay to get a little bit mad at me, but what I want you to do is I want you to get past your anger and just try to say to yourself, this guy sounds crazy. He's making me mad. He's saying something different from what I've heard from everybody else, but maybe he has a point. And so I don't care if you like me. I just want to know that you're hearing some of what I'm saying. So who's this stuff for? It's pretty much for all the kids of all backgrounds. At every grade level. Black Millionaires of Tomorrow, we've got thousands of kids. We've got grown kids. We got 80-year-olds that are going through our children's curriculum, and they love it because they've never seen anything like it. And also it makes it less intimidating. Where did the idea come to do like animated videos? We do cartoons and puppets and all that. We did that because I saw a documentary on Netflix called, what was that thing called? I forgot. Boom Bust Boom. That's what it was called. And on Boom Bust Boom, they had these puppets that they were using to explain the economy. And I was like, this is great. So they'd have puppet, Nobel Prize winner, puppet, Nobel Prize winner, puppet, financial analyst. And I was like, this is so great. This feels good to hear puppets talking about it, because it makes it simple. It makes it fun, right? So basically, we even have adults in our children's programs. If you're an adult and you're scared of financial literacy, it's cool to go into a kids program. That's how I learned physics. I learned physics on YouTube by watching cartoons. I swear to God, I kid you not. Like, and when I saw it as cartoons, I was like, oh, this can't be scary. This is a cartoon. Who's scared of a cartoon? That literally was my logic when I would see, when I would watch these videos. And now I know a lot more about physics than I would have known if I just sat there in my ignorance and never went back and watched a few cartoons on it. So this is actually, this works for adults, works for any age. So the goal for this web class, for this conversation, is to kind of help us understand a couple of things. Number one, the best way for us to know to ensure that our kids have a good future is to make sure they learn financial literacy principles. This is your opportunity not to achieve equality. We don't aim for equality. We're not aiming for inclusion. We're not aiming for diversity. We're not aiming for integration. We're certainly not aiming for assimilation. I want your kids to get ahead. I want your kids to be competitive. I'm not the football coach who goes for the tie. I'm the coach who says, let's go for, we scored our touchdown. Let's do a 2-point conversion. Let's go for the win. I want to go for the win. I want us winning. I don't want second place. And the reason I want us winning is because there is a direct path, as straight as this line is between me and this wall. There is a straight path to Black excellence and Black high achievement and Black, dare I say, superiority, if you will, not in a way that it means anybody else, but in a way that says we're the best. Reclaiming the greatness we had in Africa, reclaiming our Egyptian prowess in mathematics, physics, and everything else. There's a direct path to Black greatness that is right in front of us. All we got to do is walk over and pick it up. The ball's on the ground. All we got to do is go over and pick it up, right? But in order to do that, we've got to start taking those steps. And so that's what I want to aim for. And the other thing is I want you to kind of consider the idea that the best place to do this with your kids will be through the Black Business School and the Black Millionaires of Tomorrow program. So let me keep going. So who am I? People make fun of me. They call me Dr. Glasses and Goatee Watkins or whatever. I'll give you a quick background of who I am. I won't go into that too much because it really doesn't matter. What matters is who you are and what your kids are. But I think it's important to know why I'm qualified to talk about these things. I've been on, a ton of media, Breakfast Club more times than I can count, CNN a billion times, stuff like that. And I worked with a lot of different types of people. Starting with my grandmother. My grandmother was the number one influence for me. My grandma, rest her soul, Felicia Couch, we named a scholarship after her. We created a scholarship at Freedom Home Academy International after my grandmother. And I create things after my grandmother in her name because I love her and it keeps her alive for me. And she was the first person that did things for me that you're going to do for your kids. She's the first person that helped me see a different way of looking at the world. She's the first person that actually told me that the worst thing I could ever do for myself is to work the same horrible job till I was 70. Like she said that. She said, Coco was my nickname. She said, Coco, the worst thing in the world is for you to have a job that you hate and to have to work with these racist people until you're old. She said, do not make the mistake I made. And that stuck. Your grandma says that, it's coming from a place of pain. I wasn't going to make the same mistake. So fortunately, my goal of sort of taking over the world with financial intelligence, it's working. We're hitting a lot of people. Before I used to teach 30 students in the classroom at Syracuse University. Now, I do videos and they easily get 30,000, 40,000, 100,000 views by people all over the world. And I might be a little bit rough. I might be a little bit direct in my assertion and how I communicate, but that's what we need. We don't need wimps out here teaching our people. We need strength, and if you ain't got strength, find the strength, muster the strength. And so basically I get to work with other, people that I consider superheroes like Dr. Claude Anderson. Dr. Claude Anderson has books like Powernomics, Black Labor, White Wealth, the Black History Reader, stuff like that. I keep these books right next to me. I keep them right next to me in my desk. And I reference these books all the time because these are the key history books that children need to read. The stuff that they're reading in school is damaging. It's built around assimilation. It's built around indoctrination. And you need, if you're going to have your child indoctrinated, at least have them indoctrinated into Blackness. Like if you're going to brainwash your child, at least brainwash them to be Black and great. Don't brainwash them to be white and mediocre, because we got a whole lot of mediocre white people that have Black skin that are kind of going through our society. And you wonder why we have so many zombies in the community that aren't able to do anything for anybody other than themselves. So anyway, so all the media outlets, all this stuff is out there. That's just there for you to see it. Just know that I know what I'm talking about. And this is my biggest achievement. It's my daughter, Patrice. She is a hairstylist and a business owner. And it's great to see her sort of show, that she understands certain things differently from other people. She runs something called Black Bossy Hair, and she's a hair expert, and she does these videos and they get hundreds of thousands of views. And so I'm really proud of her. And my biggest flop was this video where I'm dancing. I don't know if you guys can see this. And I'm certainly not going to show this very long, because this is what a Black man looks like when he's cooning. So so basically I was having fun at a party and I just decided I wanted to dance, and I'm not big on that. So I guess my thinking to dancing ratio is going to be really high. Like I'll probably do 99 smart things and do one stupid thing every now and then. So you can't say that I never do anything stupid, but at the same time, I can say that I don't do stupid things all the time. So these are my parents. Now, this image of my parents takes me back to when I was a kid. Basically, as a kid, I struggled in school. I wasn't very good in school. I would go, like a lot of black boys, I went through hell as a student. Actually, I hated school. I would dread getting up going to school because I didn't feel like I belonged. I didn't feel like I was loved. I didn't feel like anybody cared about me. I didn't feel like I could do it, and I remember like school and education for me, education didn't become a good thing in my mind until I was about 20 years old, when I started seeing how education could help me. Now somebody says my YouTube went down. Let me stop the share real quick and check the YouTube. Let me know if you can see me on YouTube. If you can see me on YouTube, let me know, and I'm gonna pop in and take a look. Okay, it looks like the YouTube is fine. Tell me, everybody on YouTube, just say something. Let me know you can see and hear everything okay. And also everybody inside the actual Zoom, let me know if you're good, if everything's good, the video or the slides are showing up and all that stuff. So just give me a quick comment to just kind of let me know that you can hear me, you can see me. All right, okay, so thank you, Tammy and Lorena. And okay, good. All right, so every now and then I'm going to do that. I'm going to check in to make sure, because I did the Black Dragon lecture, and we had times where everything went down and I had no idea, so I was kind of embarrassed by that. But hey, that's life. Just know, if you ever try to do anything interesting, you're going to embarrass yourself at least about once a month. Maybe, I don't know, maybe if you're smarter than me, it'll be less than once a month. But I pretty much fail on a regular basis, and I embarrass myself all the time. And it's okay, because I know that you got to go through the failure, you got to go through the disappointment and the embarrassment in order to achieve the glory that's on the other side. Literally, success is like having $10 million worth of gold sitting across a river of manure, a river of crap. Like, you got to walk through this crap river. I'm not going to cuss today because I promised myself I wouldn't do that. But you got to walk through this river of horse manure in order to get the pot of gold. So just know, when you get there and you finally get the pot of gold, you're not going to get there shining and clean and feeling good and looking frosty. You're going to get there stinky. You're going to get there dirty. When you get there, you're going to be nasty. You're going to be like, man, was this even worth it? And that's, I think, important for Black people to understand, is that, when you're trying to really do something special, just know it's going to be a dirty process. It's not going to be easy all the time. So anyway, so seeing this image makes me think about problems I had in the educational system. I hated going to school. I got it together academically when I went to college, because that was when I started connecting money to education. And I started, doing little things like applying what I learned from sports to what I needed to do academically. And I was literally the #1 undergraduate student, #1 Black undergrad at the entire University of Kentucky. And also, I was a Wall Street Journal Outstanding Graduating Senior. I got 2 bachelor's degrees with a triple major in 4 years while working a full-time job. And I had a baby. My daughter was born. And it was so easy. It was surprisingly easy, because I did not see myself as the person who was supposed to be doing any of that. So for a couple of years, I thought I was fake. I thought I was just a dumb guy pretending to be smart. By the time I finished, I realized, okay, maybe I was just lied to. Maybe my whole life, everything that my teachers told me about who I am and what I could do, maybe that was wrong. And I had to redefine how I saw myself as a Black man. And this goes through, I think this was a similar process to millions of Black boys in America, and Black girls as well. Your child might be going through this, where people are telling them that there's something that they're not. They're sending you messages to make you think that your child's the class clown, that they are a social deviant, that they are dumb, and that's just not true. But unfortunately, most of our young men never go through a process where they have a resurrection moment like I did. I just happened to bounce on a situation that made me question everything. Because again, I'm a rule breaker. I always have been. So I started breaking those rules of who society told me I was, and saying, no, I'm going to be who I want to be. Most people don't go through that, so that's why we lose most of our most talented Black people, is because they never find out who they really are. They only think that they're a thug or whatever. So I thought I figured a lot of things out. I thought that, having a good education and doing well in school and working twice as hard as my friends was going to get me ahead. I was vocal about what was going on in the Black community. So I chose to speak up. I felt that it was important as a black man who was successful, whatever that means, to use his voice, to get out here and fight on issues and all that. And I did all that. I was actually, a pretty heavy liberal. I was big into Democratic, Republican stuff. I was a member of the Democratic Party. And as you know, my views on that have evolved. But at that time, that's the path I thought I would take as a successful black person. But even then, I still felt neutered, and I did not know why. So what happened later on down the line was I got my good Negro sticker, and I got my PhD. I was the only African American in the world to get a PhD in finance during the year 2002. Not the only African American in the world to get a PhD, but the only African American on earth to get a PhD in finance in the year 2002. I checked everywhere. I asked around, I looked around, I searched the databases. I found nobody else. So if you find somebody else who got a doctorate in finance in 2002, let me know. Then I won't say it anymore, but I don't know anybody else who got it. And there were lots of white guys who got it. And I got this great job at Syracuse. I was making over $100,000 a year. But my academic career came to a crashing halt, partly because of the environment I was in, but also partly from myself. I was discovering myself at the same time. I was dealing with racism, so I'm dealing with racism on the job. And I'm also discovering, like, hey, wait a minute, I'm a black man who's got all these educational skills. I should be connecting to black people. I'm being told by everybody that I'm successful because I've been raised to believe. Anybody tell me if you ever heard this, that you're contributing to the black community just by being successful because you're setting a good example. People see you successful, so they emulate your success. Has anybody ever heard that? I used to hear that back when I was a kid. And I learned to question that that's just not true. That's not true. You're not helping the community just by going and being successful. You're not. I mean, at best, what you're doing is you are setting a prototype that is emulated by the community. And that was actually what they did with the Native Americans. When when whites wanted Native Americans to stop being tribal, to stop speaking their language, to stop holding on to their customs, to stop being spiritual, what they did was they would take the children away, train them to be white, and then they would send them back to the community as models of success. So the young kids would say, okay, I got Uncle Sitting Bull over here. He's deeply spiritual. He's connected to the culture, but he ain't got no money. Whereas this little kid who went off to white man school and changed his name to Tom Wilson, he's got a government job. He's making good money. I want to be like him. So what they did was it was a deliberate mind control strategy to take certain people out of the community, clean them up, make them look like like white men with black skin, and put them back in the community. And that would get the children to want to emulate what they saw. So they do that in the black community. Most of your model of black success is just wrong. It's just not. It's not a success model. It's successful assimilation. It's successful indoctrination, but it's not success. Somebody said, sounds like you're a credit to your race, BS. I agree, Craig. I mean, just stuff that you hear when you're young. And a lot of times people are trying to give us good advice, but they just can't, because a lot of people don't understand the system and how it works. And so anyway, I left my job at Syracuse, and I said, okay, well, it's like, how they say vote or die. I never felt like I had to vote, or I would die. Like voting never seemed like life or death to me, but it was like, start a business or die. It was like become an entrepreneur or die. So I literally committed all my time to learning how to start a business, because I said, I got to get away from these crazy people. I got to find a way to pay my own bills. And I figured it out. I figured out the solution to blackness. I said, the number one thing, the most important thing I can figure out how to do as a black man, the one thing is to figure out how to pay my own bills. I figured it out. I said, the reason these white folks control us and own us and tell us what to do and kick us in the teeth every day is because we can't pay our own bills. So I said, so it was like a eureka moment. It was like a flashbulb. Like, okay, so all I got to do is spend all my time learning how to find a way to pay my bills without having to ask this white guy to pay my bills. And it's true. It's so true. So anyway, so years later, I started my business and I was doing okay. It's done well. I made money. It's been good. No complaints. In fact, I'm very happy because I get to live life. I get to do things I never would have had time to do if I was working for somebody. And I remember I got a call from my daughter, and she was working for somebody at the time, and she was in tears, and she was talking about the racism on her job. And she was like, she was kind of having the same conversation that a lot of us have with our parents. Like, oh, let me tell you about what these white people are doing to me on my job. You know what I'm talking about? Like these kind, we have these conversations with each other where white folks kind of drive us crazy because we're trying to figure out how to please them and we don't know quite how to do it because we still don't understand that the fundamental reality is that, you're still black. You're always going to be black. And they have a deep ingrained disdain or disrespect for black people that has been around for 400 years. So anyway, my daughter was at work going through the same thing millions of black people go through every day. And I remember the best feeling I ever had as a dad, the most powerful feeling I ever had was when I was able to say, okay, quit your job, come work with me. I got you. Just screw those people. They don't own you. You don't owe them nothing. Quit your job and just come work with me. And that was a type of empowerment that I think a lot of black people don't feel. We don't feel that because most of the time, only thing we can do is tell our children to do is just, find a way to make the racist happy. The racist is illogical. The racist is a sick human being. The racist is psychologically backward. The racist is just deeply mentally ill. And you're trying to help your children and yourself figure out how to please a crazy person. Well, if there's ever a one-way ticket to the insane asylum, it is to try to please a person who ain't quite right mentally. Like even children, they say children who don't have a schizophrenia gene, who go live and try to please a schizophrenic parent, like if they get adopted by a schizophrenic, I think that they're more likely to get schizophrenia than people who actually have the gene. Did y'all know that? That even if you have no DNA, nothing in your DNA that speaks to schizophrenia, if you go live with a crazy person and you're not using the word crazy lightly, I maybe use a different word, but if you go live with somebody who's got schizophrenia and you're trying to deal with a schizophrenic or a crazy or an alcoholic or whatever, it messes you up mentally. So basically a lot of the reason black people are messed up mentally, my theory, I'm not a psychologist, but I'm giving you my take, is we're messed up mentally because we're trying to please and understand and connect with people who just ain't right psychologically. I do believe racism is a mental illness, and I believe it affects all throughout, it affects people all throughout our society. So anyway, let's keep going. So the thing about most of us as black people is that most of us do not have alternatives. Most of us do not have options. Freedom is options. That's all it is. Freedom is options. Options are freedom. So if you ever want to know if you're free, I want you to look at, your day-to-day decision making and say, do I have options? If you have no options, then you're not free. And if you're not free, that means you could be a slave. You see, we think that slavery means that you're not getting paid. That's a type of slavery, but that's not the only kind of slavery. Slavery is a lack of freedom, and freedom is a lack of options. So if you want your children to be free, what you do is you train them to always have options. Do you feel me? Somebody talk back to me. Or like my friend Vicky Dilla says, somebody talk black to me. Do you get what I'm saying? Do you get what I'm saying? So anyway, a child is, that's only educated at school is an uneducated child. Let's just be clear about that. A lot of us think that if we go to school and we're making good grades and we're in school for a long time, that we are educated, and that's just not true. In many cases, the danger of education is not so much just a lack of education. It is miseducation, extreme miseducation. Remember, you've got high-ranking black people that work for Donald Trump who went to Harvard and Yale. Clarence Thomas went to Yale University. He's highly educated, but he's highly miseducated. He's been indoctrinated, right, into a way of thinking. Dr. Ben Carson. Again, I don't hate Ben Carson as much as everybody else does. I don't hate him at all. I don't get into hate. I don't have the energy for that. But I'm disappointed in him for running up behind Donald Trump, right? Well, Dr. Ben Carson is about as educated as you can get. So clearly, education is not the key for black children. It is the right kind of education. It's like if I say, well, the reason I can't get to my destination is because I don't have a car, and you give me a car, and let's say it's a fast car, it goes 150 miles an hour, and so I get in this car and I'm driving the car in the wrong direction. Well, now you put me in a worse situation than I would have been if I just sat still. You follow me? So white education for black children is like putting them in a car that goes 100 miles an hour in the wrong direction. The right solution is to put them in a vehicle that will take them in the right direction very quickly. Even if it's going half as fast, as long as it's right. Like I talked to Michi X from Fly Nubian Queen the other day about the fact that they have a homeschooling network out in Denver. I'm going to go visit Denver very soon. I look forward to seeing the black folks in Denver. I'm going to get her and Vicky Dilla together. We're going to have a great event. And she said that me and some of the other moms and dads just got together and said, we can educate our own kids. And I said, well, how did you know what to do? Like, are any of you educated? She said, no, but we know our kids, and we know how to get on the internet. We know how to pool our money together. We know how to take care of the children. We know how to give them love. We know how to expose them to ideas. We know how to make sure they stay Black. And we figured it out. And that's the kind of mindset that's going to get us ahead. That's what's going to make us strong. Now the other mindset, like, oh, well, I'm going to send my child to the most expensive white private school I possibly can, and send them away so they can become a preppy white boy. I don't know if you're doing your children a favor, on any of that. So anyway, let's keep going. So basically with the Black Business School, 3 things we believe in is we believe that Black people should create our own jobs. We should support Black business, and we should educate our own children. That's what we call the Black core of 3. The Black core of 3 is one of our most fundamental, most sacred, most beloved beliefs. Like when I die, I want them to put the Black core of 3 on my statue. I want them to build a statue in front of our Black Business School location, which we're going to have very soon. And I want them to put the Black core of 3 on that statue, because I want these to be principles Black people live by for the next 300 years. So anyway, let's keep going. Now, the thing about the kids, as far as educating the kids, is that we wanted to give them an exciting program where they could kind of study with themselves. They could watch the cartoons and kind of go through the stuff. Some of the parents that already have kids in the program, I hope you'll say something in the comments so that people will know just how impactful the program is. We also made it motivational. We spent thousands of hours. We've had experts putting together curricula, flashcards, all different kinds of tools that will give your children basically access to a business school at an early age. And that's where Black Millionaires of Tomorrow came from. I think it's one of the best programs that I've ever seen, the best. I don't know of any other program that does what it does on the scale that it does. And so I hope you'll check it out at some point. Now, the thing about, kids today is that there's a lot of stuff. There are a lot of options out there, but then there's also a lot of stuff that's expensive that isn't necessarily beneficial. For example, I always recommend extra tutoring. That's what we do with the kids in our house. We got one, the 11-year-old makes straight A's at school. And I said, we're going to get you a tutor. And she said, why do I need a tutor? I said, because you're still not at your best. And she said, wait a minute, but I make better grades than all the kids in my school. I said, I don't care. That's one classroom. That's one school. There's kids out there. There's some little girl in China who's your same age who is trying to do calculus right now at a college level. I want you to be able to compete with her too. So we're going to get you a tutor, and we're going to make sure that whatever you can do, we're going to help you reach your fullest potential. We're going to do with you what they do in the Jewish households, what they do in the Chinese households, what they do in the Nigerian households. I'm talking about the very best ones, right? And then when we got Black households that are doing it, but it's not as much a part of our culture. So basically, I was like, I don't care if you're making straight A's. I'm going to put you in front of somebody that's going to challenge you, because you must experience some level of failure so you know how to fight through adversity so you can become better. If you're always successful all the time and you think that you're always great at stuff, the problem with that is that, number one, you're not going to be at the best that you can be because you've never really been pushed. Number two is that you won't know how to deal with adversity when you hit it. You won't know. You'll be like the boxer who won every fight in the first 30 seconds, and you won't know what to do when somebody hits you straight upside your head. When somebody knocks you down to the ground. That's what creates successful people. So there's a lot of stuff that we spend money on, whether it's the sports, the video games, the phones, trips to the movies, name brand clothes, all that. We go hard for our kids because we've been fed a myth about Blackness that's sort of like, I'm like the Blackish family. Blackish is a great show, but it's like now we're these Black people who grew up, in unfortunate economic circumstances. Now we're middle class. We got the nice house. We got the fancy car. Maybe it's like a Lincoln or something. And our kids are going to the private school, and we want to make sure they have all the things we never had. And the problem with that thinking is that when you're spoiling the hell out of your kids, what you're doing is you're giving them all the things you never had, but you're not giving them the things that you did have that made you successful in the first place. You're taking away the things that made you great. You're not letting them go through any adversity. You're not making them earn a dollar. You're not making them know what it's like to actually have to hustle to get something. All the things that you learned that helped you to figure out a way, find a way to make a way, they don't have any of that. So instead you're replacing their internal ambition with a video game, or you're replacing, their hunger with a new car. You're spoiling these kids. And what happens is they get out in the world, they don't know what to do with themselves. They get their butts kicked. They don't even know that racism exists. And so when they face it, it's shocking for them. You know, I had a friend like that who grew up in a world, somehow, I don't know what planet he grew up on, but he grew up in a world where, you know, where racism just wasn't a big deal, and it didn't matter what color you were and all this other stuff. I don't know if it's California or what. And it was so funny because he came down to the South. He came to Kentucky, and he dealt with some racism. He dealt with, you know, a job where white folks were getting the promotions and he wasn't getting the promotions. You know, they were getting the pay raises, he wasn't getting the pay raises. You know, and in fact, he had white folks that were jealous of the fact that he even had a nice house and a nice car. And he was so angry. He was so mad. He went from being like this oblivious black man to being like the angriest black man I'd ever met. Like he was every time I talked to him, he'd be so pissed off with these white folks. And I was like, you didn't get the memo? Like, you didn't know you were black, did you? You poor thing. Did they tell you? They probably put it on your birth certificate. You know, being black is a different experience. And I remember that it affected his mental health. I was worried about his mental health because every time I talked to him, all he could talk about, all he could obsess over is what the white people at his job were doing to him. And that is a sign that mentally you ain't right no more. Like, you know, or when you talk about your boss and say, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to punch him in his face. And so and he was serious. Like I really thought he was going to go really punch his boss. And I was like, you go to jail for that, you know, but that's what happens. Like when you're not ready for the world will drive you crazy. You'll lose it. Like there was the black man in Los Angeles, the cop, who remember, it was a terrible story, but he was killing all these white police officers. You remember that guy, Christopher something, and it was big news for about maybe 2 weeks, and then everybody forgot about it like they do with the news. But they killed him. They ended up killing him. And if you look at the guy's background before he did these crazy radical things, he was literally O.J. Simpson before the O.J. trial. He was literally like Mr. Kumbaya, you know, like racism is a figment of your imagination. Look at my beautiful white girlfriend. You know, like all the people that like the Boyce Watkinses who talk about race, they're just making stuff up. He was like that. Christopher Dorner, that was his name. You know, and so what happened was he was exposed to something that nobody prepared him for, and he could not handle it. So that's what I just say. I think for your kids, you got to expose them to things so they can be ready, so they don't lose it and do something crazy or get depressed or become suicidal or whatever when they deal with the realities of being black. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing the screen for a minute to make sure you guys can see me and hear me okay. Everybody inside the webinar and also on YouTube as well. I know you guys on YouTube, excuse me, on Facebook can see me. Tell me you can see me. Just give me a confirmation. Say, yes, we can see you. Yes, we can hear you. It's all good. Kelly says Denver, Colorado in the building. Oh, Kelly, so I'm going to be in Denver very soon. So keep your eyes out. Make sure you subscribe at drboycetv.com, and I'll let you guys know when I come to Denver. It'll probably be early December. So and also I'm going to come to Houston after that. So if you're in Houston or Denver, I'll be there very, very soon. I'm not doing tours as much anymore. But let me see here. All right, good. So thank you, Marcellus and Angela and everybody else. All right, so I know the team that's helping us with this presentation. They're probably looking at me like I'm crazy, like, oh my God, he's going so far off the script. He's talking about all this stuff we didn't expect him to talk about. But this is what I do. I rather just talk to you for real as opposed to like giving you some sort of a pitch presentation or whatever. That's not what it is. We are letting you know about the program, and I hope you'll consider participating. But I want to also let you know about life and so that we can help each other and learn and figure things out. So anyway, let's keep going. So the responsibility of teaching our kids about financial education, the program is basically designed to fill in the gap in terms of what kids are not taught in school. And it's not just a black thing, but it's an American thing. Financial literacy is not taught in public schools. And I can't help but wonder if the agenda is to make sure that Americans are not financially literate so that they'll keep doing silly things like going $80,000 a year in debt to go to college, or maxing out their credit card so they can go on vacation, or engaging in massive consumer spending, which drives the economy. In the program, your child, after they're done, if they go through and they'll get a certificate when they're done, like a degree, like their first college degree, basically they can put on their wall. Your child will have an average financial literacy level that exceeds the average college educated adult. And if you don't agree, we give you your money back. We literally know how to take a 9-year-old, and if they're trained and they go through the modules and everything else and pass all the little exams, they will know more about real estate than the average adult. They'll know terminology in investing that the average adult does not know. They'll be prepared to invest in the stock market, which is the #1 factor in the gap in wealth between the rich and the poor. Also, your child will be able to do like my little niece. who was just born, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure my niece isn't buried under student loan debt. Now, you can't tell kids what to do, but you can tell them how to get around that. So there are ways to kind of get around that. Student loan debt is critical because student loan debt is the number one reason that Black people's wealth is actually going backward, because universities are literally sucking wealth out of the Black community like a vacuum cleaner, because they're going after the people that have big hopes and big dreams. Private universities are the worst, because they go to the hood and they find somebody who's ambitious in the hood and they say, oh, you want to do better than, for your family? And they say, yeah, I do. Well, why don't you go to school? And they say, okay. And then you say, well, it's $30,000 a year. And they say, I can't afford that. They say, that's okay. Just sign here and it'll be fine. So next thing you know, what happens with these programs is a lot of them don't actually give them the students jobs or good jobs when they graduate, and many of the students don't finish. So you got millions of Black people and white people too, millions of people who don't even have a degree, but have $50,000 in debt. How do you have $50,000 in debt, but you don't have a degree? If you're in that category, don't be embarrassed. It's happening to a lot of people. It's a sucker's game. They're sucking people in because people aren't stepping off the beaten path. They're following the methods that are presented to them. You got college graduates that will die in debt. Half of all Black college graduates have defaulted on their student loans. Half of all Black college graduates cannot pay their student loans. Remember, these are the successful. These are the talented 10th. These are the successful Black people. These are the bougie Black people. These are the ones that are driving down the street in the Lincolns and the Cadillacs and the Mercedes. And the ones wearing the fancy suits, the ones who are looking fly, because they're taught that being Black means you always got to stay fly. And they don't want you to know that they're struggling economically. They lie, they pretend. Why? Well, because they don't want the embarrassment. Some of y'all are in here right now, and I'm not making fun of you. I'm just telling the truth that you're going to probably nod your head too quietly. You ain't even got to make a comment about this. They don't want you to know that their plan did not work. They don't want you to know that despite the fact that you see them as the successful one in the family, they've actually got less money than their cousin who learned to go fix trucks for a living, or learned how to be a carpenter, or learn some trade, went to trade school, right? Really? Okay, so let me keep going. So can our kids grasp financial concepts? Yes, we have over 5,000 children in the program, and they're doing extremely well. I see financial intelligence as a superpower. This gives your child a chance to be a superhero. I think that the reason it's a superpower is because it's so mysterious to people. Like, people don't understand, like, how do rich people actually make money? How do they do that, right? And they don't understand how stock market investing is really easy if you find the right person that can explain it in the right way. How entrepreneurship it's actually instinctual. When I went to China, I gave a lecture to you guys about my trip to China. I saw thousands of entrepreneurs who never went to business school, never took a class, never read a book about it, none of that. But they knew how to sit down and hustle, offer a product. They knew how to buy low, sell high. They knew how to talk to you to get you to buy. They knew how to make a deal with a customer and bring home their bread. That's what they knew how to do. They didn't go to business school to do this. They just knew how to hustle. We got to learn our hustle skill. Let's keep going. So today I'm going to break down really quickly the first secret about why the work hard, study hard model doesn't work. Number 2, how to position your children for financial greatness without killing their dreams. Number 3, how to get them to put down the video games and actually become obsessed with economic success. So here's the first part, the work hard, study hard model. Here's why it's a myth. Let me just kind of break this down. There are people like Tony Robbins. I like Tony Robbins because Tony Robbins kind of keeps it real and keeps it honest. And here's one of the quotes that he made. He said, let's face it, we're not about to earn our way to wealth. That's a mistake millions of Americans think. We think that if we work harder, smarter, and longer, we'll achieve our financial dreams. But our paycheck alone, no matter how big, isn't the answer. So the number one thing about being a millionaire that you must understand, that you must tell your children, is that most people can't become millionaires with just a paycheck. The only exceptions I've seen are people who in very early, they have, number one, they have parents that create an investment fund for them at an early age. Number 2, they are maxing out their 401ks at an early age, like early in their career. Number 3, they buy real estate. They buy a house as soon as possible. I did see a person who did that. And because she stayed out of debt with her student loans, she didn't go deep into student loan debt. She was actually able to become a millionaire, and she didn't even know she was a millionaire because she didn't even know what it really meant to be a millionaire. Like, she didn't understand. I was like, well, millionaire status is net worth. When I add up everything you own and I subtract everything you owe, you have over $1 million. That makes you a millionaire. And she didn't see herself as a millionaire. There's another person who says, what did he say? He said that formal education will help you make a living, but self-education will help you make a fortune. So the millionaire schools that are out here are not in universities. They're not in high schools. High schools and universities are designed to put your children into the workforce. That's what they're designed to do. The millionaire schools are the schools that happen outside of regular school. So when you talk about working harder and longer to achieve wealth and stuff like that, you also believe that more degrees lead to more money. Most Black folks I know that want to make more money, they say, oh, I'm going back to school. I'm going to take on another $50,000 in debt because I want to make more money. I'm not going to say that having a job is always a terrible, stupid thing. If you have a great job and you love it and you're making the money you want to make and you're in a position you want to be in, then I think that only a few modest tweaks might be all you need in order to get where you want to get to. Most people I know aren't in that position. Most people are not making the money they deserve to make. They're not doing what they want to do. They're not happy with their job. They would rather spend their time doing something else. And they're not getting ahead financially. And that's because the system was designed that way. It's designed for you to run like a hamster on a wheel and to kind of stay in the same spot all the time. So most of the time you can't really W-2 your way to wealth, living paycheck to paycheck. That's another thing that really cuts into our wealth is the spending culture. We are big consumers. Black people are the biggest consumers in the world. We are trained to spend. And corporations love to hire us because we keep the corporations in business because we spend. So we'll make the money, spend it, go back, make more money, spend it, go back, make more money, spend it. There's no long-term plan. There's no plan in the minds of most people I know of a day where they can visualize where they can actually stop working and live off of the money that they've put into investments. It's like you're so busy thinking about trying to get through today that you're not thinking about 40 years from now. Like who has time to think about 40 years from now when you're trying to figure out what's going to happen this week, right? So let's keep going. So here's some wealth building principles you want to think about. You want to acquire wealth in the type that bulletproofs you against a job setback or a horrible boss. I believe in the concept of what they call FU money. FU money means that you've got enough money, enough options, enough other streams of income that you can tell your boss, FU, I quit, I'm out, I'm leaving. And you can do that and not have any regrets. Passive income is very important. You want to have income that doesn't require you to work. Somebody should have a conversation with you about the fact that most people who make lots of money are making this money while they're sleeping or while they're on vacation or while they're hanging with their kids. They're not making this money at a job. So you teach these kids these things while they're young. Then when they get old enough, to ask for money, they're going to be old enough to know how to manage money. So that's very important. So, when it came to my kids, my daughter and my god kids who are like my children, they know where I stand, and I'm gonna just tell you the truth about kids. Sometimes kids don't listen. Some of your kids listen to you, some of the kids don't, and so if your kids are like mine, sometimes you say stuff and it goes in one ear and out the other. But my kids will never go anywhere in life without being able to say that Daddy consistently told us what it means to be Black. He told us what it means to be free. He told us all the different ways you can go out and make money. So it's not your job so much to feel like you can control your child's life. Kids are going to make choices that don't make sense to you all the time. But at least you can say, look, I told them everything I knew how to tell them, and they can't say nobody let them know. A lot of us are in bad financial situations right now because nobody told us. Some of y'all got screwed, by the people that loved you. They weren't trying to screw you. They just didn't know any other options. So for some of y'all, I might be a surrogate dad, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with replacing your parents for a while, because some of your parents, maybe gave you the best advice they could, but couldn't tell you what you needed to know. So the smarter, not harder, harder mindset, I think is very important. Working smarter kind of goes beyond just getting a degree and working with your brain. It comes into the idea of developing systems and processes. Developing systems is really important. I believe that if I could pick things that if I were the king for a day and I could just make rules or make laws that Black people had to follow, I would make it so that every Black child in the country takes a class on developing systems and organizational structure, so that every child sees themselves as a walking corporation, as a walking organization, as somebody that can delegate and build and structure something that is going to last even after they're gone. The other thing about this whole work harder, get a job, retire method is that it relies on the school system to get the education. I don't believe in relying on the school system. It goes into the whole get a good job thing. All I heard when I was a kid was about getting good jobs, and then there's the sort of other side of the culture, the underbelly of it, which is spend your money until you ain't got none, and then spend money you ain't got, right? Then go in debt spending money that you don't even have yet, because that's what you're encouraged to do. And so here's the thing: if our kids inherit this. If you're letting your children inherit this culture, they're really going into, financial devastation. They're literally going into the situation where money's coming in, you're spitting it out, and you're borrowing more. So the debt keeps you in deeper slavery, not planning for death, not having any life insurance, any estate planning in place, nothing to even preserve the wealth, and taking all the wrong financial vehicles to get there. That just is a recipe for disaster. So that's the old way. The Black Millionaires of Tomorrow way basically fills in the gaps in financial literacy for your kids. Make sure that your kids know the basics on real estate investing, entrepreneurship, all kinds of stuff, stocks and bonds, all of that. Number two, teach them wealth building principles at home. Right? Some of you guys are Black Dragon families in the Black Business School, where I've explained to you how you need to hold rank up in your house. You need to protect your family from the nonsense that's out here in the world. You are the emperor and the empress of that kingdom called your home, and you need to break the rules and set new rules when it comes to you and yours. Period. Or if you don't, your children and your family are in danger, because we know that everything out here that Black people are exposed to is nothing more than the kind of toxic brainwashing that's built to put us back in slavery. We know this. We see these things. You see the media. You see what the educational system does. You see what they do with the prison system. You see all of this. So you got to pull rank. It's up to you. I can't do it for you. I can advise you. I can help guide you, but you have to do it. And then when you send your children out into the world with principles of preparation, what happens is they become like somebody who's dropped in the woods. I used to watch a show with this guy named Bear Grylls. Bear Grylls was this badass white boy who they used to drop, anybody else watch that show? It was on the Discovery Channel, and they would drop him in the middle of nowhere. Like they would drop him in the middle of Alaska with like a knife and a blanket and a pair of shoes, or it would be something crazy like that. And he would find a way to survive. Like he can survive in Antarctica, he can survive in the desert, he can survive in the Amazon, because he knew all the different ways to protect himself. He knew all the ways to feed himself. He knew all the ways to navigate. He knew all the ways to stay safe and to survive in that jungle. You drop me in the middle of that jungle, I will be dead in about 20 minutes. I will be eaten up by a tiger or a leprechaun. I don't know. I won't live in that situation. Why? Well, because I wasn't trained on that. Nobody prepared me. Well, economics is a jungle too. Economics, in this society, we are a capitalist society. Money kind of runs everything. Cream rules everything around me, right? We know this. And so if you're dropped in the middle of the economic jungle and you have no understanding of economics, you are about as vulnerable as I would be if you dropped me in the middle of the Amazon and I ain't been trained on survival skills. How many of our children are trained on survival skills? Most of our children don't know how to really survive in any way other than to find a better survivor and get up under that survivor. Meaning, maybe your daughter doesn't know anything about how to get her own money, but she knows how to find the baller, the guy, the dope dealer, or the man with the most money, so she can get up next to him. Well, that's not very empowering. That's not going to help her to be safe and free. We may not know how to start our own business, but we know how to go to Wendy's, Taco Bell, and these other business owners and ask them for a job. That's not going to leave you safe and free, especially if you're Black. So basically, I believe that sending your children out into the world with survival skills will make them an asset to the family, not a liability. You got a lot of 30-year-old kids living with their parents now because they don't know how to survive economically. And then they'll be happier and wiser. They'll be able to create. If they can't find their dream job, they'll know how to create it. Just the idea of knowing that if your dream job isn't available or you can't find it, you can create your dream job. That's one of the goals you want to have. And then also, in addition to that, you can actually reverse the trend on generational wealth. You keep them out of debt with student loans, you help them build wealth. They die with all the life insurance and everything else in place. Next thing you know, their children are better off because they were here. A lot of people have children that are going to start over at exactly where their parents started. That's not progress. So you might be thinking, here's some things that might be going through your mind, that your kids are too young to be stressed out about money. Well, if your kids are about 6 is when kids start asking about money. They start learning money is important about 6 or 7 years old. And so they're going to be stressed out about money for the rest of their lives. So it'd be very important to make sure that they're prepared early. Also, you're thinking, I make good money in my career and it's my job to provide. And that's cool too. I mean, I'm not hating on the fact that you have a job. I'm not hating on your career. What I'm saying is that you want to make sure that your children have a Swiss Army knife of possibilities, because one of the things that you don't want to have happen is for your child to get older and to always lean on you as their financial rock. I saw a lady who did that. She took care of her son when he was a teenager. She took care of him when he was in his 20s. In his 30s, he'd be calling her, Mama, I got locked up. Can you bail me out? Or, Mama, they're going to lock me up for child support. Can you pay the child support? Whatever. And then he got in his 40s. She was taking care of him. He got in his 50s. By that time, she was in retirement. She couldn't take care of him anymore. So he was a financial burden. Rather than being a child that could actually help his mother, he was still a baby in his mind, where he was still going to his mother for money. You might be looking at your 401k and your savings and stuff like that, and that's a great investment vehicle. Nothing wrong with that. What I'm trying to talk to you about is supplementation. Also, you may say, well, running a business ain't for everybody, right? Everybody's not an entrepreneur. I hear that all the time. And I agree. I hear what you're saying. But while everybody's not meant to run a business, everybody can own a part of a business. So just by understanding entrepreneurship, you learn that there are a million different ways to skin the cat besides you just quitting your job and running the company. You don't have to do that. If you know delegation and organizational structure and how investments work, then you can actually be the investor and let someone else run the company, and you're just a shareholder. Everybody should be a shareholder. The people in America that have the most money, the 1%, are the people who own pieces of companies. I could open up my apps, my investment apps, and show you about 200 different companies I own a piece of, and I don't know how to run any of these businesses. I can't run Microsoft, but when they make money, I make money. I don't know how to run Amazon.com, but when I read that Amazon had a good quarter, I smile, because I know that me and Jeff Bezos, the CEO, we both about to get paid, right? So my point is that, if you understand these things, all the different ways you can get things done without seeing it as sort of a stereotypical sort of way. And then also people, might say, oh, I want my child to have fun and live their dream of being an entertainer, playing sports. They can still do all of that. You don't have to kill one dream in order to build another. That's important. You can supplement the dream. That's what you have to do. So basically, with this program we made it kid friendly. We took everything that was college level, all the advanced stuff, and we broke it down to where children could understand it. We made the program online so kids could use it all over the world. They can get on their tablets, on their phones, and get their degree online. Also, we made sure that they can apply everything so that once they're done, they have a way to kind of jump in and they can get started. Okay, so my daughter, there's a picture of her. She's beautiful, and that's her brand, Black Bossy Hair, and that's kind of the thing she's done. Also, there's Dr. Claude Anderson. I want to read this quote from Dr. Claude Anderson. I want you to pay attention. He says, empowering Black children is more than teaching them math and reading skills. They must know how to compete for wealth and power rather than poverty and acceptance, to produce rather than consume, and to be job producers rather than job seekers. So Dr. Claude Anderson is spitting out an idea that is very basic, but it's very, very important. We've mastered the ability to look for jobs, but if you master the ability to create jobs, then that's like literally putting an ATM in your house. Instead of looking for money, you're printing money. Instead of looking for opportunities, you're creating opportunities. Black folks, in order to rise economically, any community that rises economically is a community that is able to internally generate some valuable asset that other people from other communities must come to them in order to obtain. If you are a country or a community and you create something that other people want, then you do not have to leave your community in order to achieve the prosperity you desire. You don't have to do that. In the movie The Black Panther, all the white people were coming to them because they had the vibranium. Everybody wanted the vibranium, and they had it in their community. So everybody was bowing to them to try to get a chance to come into Wakanda to get access to the vibranium. Black people have had vibranium for 1,000 years. We just don't know what it looks like. We don't identify it properly because we are so busy trying to leave our community to go get stuff from other people. Let me give you an example. Hip hop is Black vibranium. Hip hop is Black American vibranium. We created hip hop out of the South Bronx in the 1970s. Kids, teenagers got together and created a style of music that has transformed the world for the last 50 years. It wasn't a big deal to have extraordinary rappers. If you watch these documentaries, most of these groups were formed when somebody said, oh yeah, I created a group called Tribe Called Quest. my homeboy was in class next to me. He was a rapper too. And then my cousin was a rapper. And so we all got together. The Wu-Tang Clan, 3 or 4 of the members of the Wu-Tang Clan are relatives. So we were mass producing on a regular basis something that was valued by the rest of the world in the billions. We were producing Black American vibranium. Hip hop has probably earned $500, $500 billion at least for people all throughout the world. And we had it in abundant supply. We had it in abundant supply. You go to China, you go to you go to the white suburbs, you go to Iowa, you got to search for miles to find a good rapper. At least back in the 70s and 80s, you can find good rappers in Iowa or in Shanghai. They didn't have that. But you go to the Bronx, everybody was a good rapper. Everybody, if you give them some good lyrics and a good beat and put them on a microphone and put them, broadcast them to the world, could become famous. So we were mass producing vibranium right there in our community. And you know what we did? We gave it all away. We gave it all away. Why did we give it all away? Well, because we did not have the financial literacy and the skill set to understand the value of what we had in our possession. We didn't have that. There were a few exceptions. Russell Simmons, he had that. He went to his cousin, again, told you, rappers everywhere, vibranium everywhere. He went to his cousin, or his, I think it was his brother. And there was like, yeah, we want to create a group called Run DMC. And I got my friend Daryl, and we can rap on the mic, and we want to get a deal. And so next thing you know, he creates one of the biggest groups in the entire world. And the vibranium was being produced in Black communities all over the earth. Suge Knight with Death Row Records had guys like Snoop Dogg, who was cousins with Warren G, and Tupac is right over here sitting in jail, again, being thrown in the trash by society. Suge saw Tupac's genius and said, this guy is a $1 billion asset. But once again, significant mismanagement led to us giving that vibranium away. Death Row Records could be a $10, $20 billion company right now. Why isn't it? Because you had people that did not understand how to protect and manage valuable financial assets. So don't you tell me for 1 second that Black people ain't never had no opportunities. With hip hop alone, I'm not even gonna talk about sports. I'm not gonna talk about sports. With hip hop alone, you were sitting on $1 trillion gold mine. And because of your lack of interest in financial literacy, your lack of interest in organizational skill, institution building, business development, you gave it all away. And then you got mad because somebody else got paid off of the vibranium you created right in your own backyard. Let me keep going. So this is one of the sisters that came through our program, Kyra Hassett. She completed the program. She's now in pre-med. She's becoming a doctor. So she's may or may not be an entrepreneur, but she has the foundation where she becomes a doctor and decides that she wants to, quit her hospital job and go work for herself. She can do that. So basically, just reiterating secret number one, this whole study hard, work hard model, that's just kind of a myth. I can tell you how many times I can sit in a room full of highly educated Black people who have advanced degrees from top universities. And if you ask any of them, okay, how are we going to start this business? They have no idea what to do. They literally have no idea. They literally don't, like if you ask them and you say, let me turn this off, sorry. If you ask them and you say, well, we hate our jobs. We all agree on that. We all agree that even when you have fancy degrees, massa still doesn't treat you right. What are we going to do? Most of those people are not able to make a move. They can't make a move. And what happens is, unfortunately, the people that control you, that manage you, they also know you can't make a move. They also know that you don't have the skill set to compete with them. And so that is one of the key reasons why Black people get put in last place. So let me know if you guys can see me and hear me okay. Let me see. I see Derek says that my daughter completed the Be My program, and Crystal K at the Black Business School sent my daughter a certificate of completion. All right, Dr. Boyce signed the certificate to A, B, and C. I think I remember your daughter. Along with taking a picture, she also completed Ryan McCurry's Future Financial Gurus program. She's on her way, and we are heavy in the stock market. She picks great securities. Everything the doctor's saying relative to turning on a light within your child and thinking differently than most children is correct. That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. And I'm so happy that you're doing that with your child. What's going to happen is that these are things that your children are going to call you and thank you for when you get older, or when they get older, and when you're older too. They're gonna look back and they're gonna say, my parents raised me different, and this is why my life turned out different. I know that's gonna happen, because I know that I did that with my mother. I called my mother. I was on a cruise ship, and it was like a work night. It was like a Tuesday night, and I was like, I'm on a cruise ship, and I don't even have to go to work tomorrow, and I want to thank you for that, because you exposed me to something that gave me opportunities that were different from my friends. So secret number 2, to reiterate, is how you can position your children for greatness without killing the previous dream. So I want to ask you this question. How many kids get drafted into the NBA and NFL? Well, the answers, are basically about 1% for the NBA and 2% for the NFL. And that's literally 1% of the college athletes, And if you don't know anything about college sports, you know that in order to play college sports, you have to be extraordinarily good. So you got a million black kids who are really, really good. They're the best basketball player in their city, or they made All-State, and they really think they're going to be the next LeBron James, the next, Kobe Bryant, and it's not going to happen for them. And so ultimately, this is not a dream that we can rely on. We know this. And so you have guys like Diddy who are in the entertainment space, but I like Diddy as an example here, because Diddy isn't a person who just made his money by being a rapper. In fact, if Diddy were making his money off of rapping, he would be poor, because Diddy is not a great rapper. He hasn't produced a hit since Biggie was alive. But Diddy is a businessman. Diddy has found a way to use his business acumen to remain relevant for over 25 years. And he's building a generational legacy that he's passing on to his children. So I think that's really important. LeBron James is another example that I think you can use for your kids, because LeBron is a little bit different. LeBron, he's not common. LeBron is a guy that is doing something that is setting a template for all the athlete-minded guys out here. He also has a lot of friends that weren't 6'9" and can't dunk a basketball, but they're working with him and they're doing extremely well because they had a business plan from the beginning. They are sort of quietly taking over the sports space, and they're signing these guys that these little agents, sports agents can't sign, and so basically, it's kind of this scenario where you've got this kind of nerds versus jocks thing. And I don't think your child has to make a choice. Like, I think one of the misconceptions we have is that in order to be smart, you have to be a nerd, or if you're an athlete, you're supposed to be a dumb jock, when really you're not supposed to be a dumb jock. You're supposed to be an intelligent athlete, because it takes a lot of intelligence to be a great athlete, actually. And the same thing is true on the other side. I used to think that making good grades would kind of make me corny or whatever. And I think it's important to help them understand that there's nothing corny about being the richest man in the room. I don't care if you're the biggest nerd in the world. If you're really doing well financially, you're financially free, people will give you that respect. Mark Zuckerberg is technically a nerd, but no one will ever call him a nerd, because he makes probably about $1 billion a month or something insane like that. $500 million. I don't know what he makes, but it's an insane amount of money. So don't let your kids get caught up in this kind of contradiction. I think that we as Black males identify ourselves as athletes early, which throws us off of the long-term objective of actually being successful in life. Now, if you look at LeBron's financial breakdown, one of the interesting things about him is that he's actually made more money from his business ventures than he makes from his salary. His salary is high. He's made a lot of money, but it's the business ventures that are actually making the most money. So LeBron is kind of exercising something that I wish Antoine Walker had done. Antoine Walker is a guy I went to school with, who played for the Chicago Bulls, I think, and some other places, or maybe it wasn't the Bulls. Maybe he did play for the Bulls. I know he's from Chicago. Anyway, Antoine Walker, was famous because he made $110 million and he spent it all. He gave it all away, and that's because he saw money as something you just spent. You just give it away. Whereas LeBron, you can tell, understands money as something that you're supposed to grow, like a seed, right? That's why you see him hanging out with guys like Warren Buffett and others. And I think that's great, because Warren Buffett is a guy who literally tells a story about how he made a $113 investment in 1942, and it actually grew to, I think, $450,000 in 2017, something like that. So planting your money is the best way to grow it. And so LeBron always has this famous quote. He says, "We didn't let the game of basketball use us. We used it." I think that's great. I think LeBron's awesome, and I think he deserves mad respect for all of that. And so basically, let your kids follow their dreams. Just if they want to be a basketball player, say, okay, great. When you get to the NBA, you're going to need to know financial literacy so that your agent doesn't rip you off. But at the same time, set them up for the other game, the other fun competitive game, of the game of wealth, the game of investing, the game of real estate, the game of opening businesses. What I found is that not only was being a business owner and an investor a fun way to be financially free, it also kind of gave me a sense of purpose as a competitive guy. Like some of you have sons, they have a lot of energy and they want to hustle to be the best basketball player or whatever they're doing. Well, why are they doing that? They're doing that because they want to be successful. They want to eventually make money. Why do they look up to the athletes that are on TV? Because they're rich, right? So if you explain to them that it's much easier to become a millionaire as an entrepreneur than it is to become a millionaire playing sports, a lot of your sons will get that. I really loved the idea that I have these other ways that I could be successful as a black man that didn't involve me having to know how to dribble a basketball or throw a football, get my head bashed in on the field. So what you'll find is that you don't have to necessarily tell them to do this. They're going to pick it up on their own. And also what will happen is that if you have those children that love sports, their natural competitiveness is going to kick over into sports. Like Michael Jordan, it's not a coincidence that Michael Jordan was one of the most competitive basketball players ever. And at the same time, he's one of the most successful entrepreneurs ever. It's because he's a competitive person. He wants to win. He wants to succeed. He wants to be on top. And then on top of that, generational wealth is typically passed through assets. So if you're in the wealth building game and you're doing stocks and bonds, real estate, and entrepreneurship, well, then you got things to pass down. You got property. You've got stocks and bonds to pass your children. You've got businesses that your children can take over, and you've got your life insurance policies and anything else you have in place. So this is sort of a natural process to get us to where we want to get to. And we're not going to get there by, voting for a certain politician or by just sending our kids to white schools. That's not going to get us there. If you don't believe me, look at the last 50 years. Now, here's an example of kind of what we're dealing with. We're dealing with kind of a crisis of ignorance, if you want to call it that, where you've got a lot of people that are really stuck on I hate saying it, but I feel like it's kind of stuck on stupid. Not that these are stupid people, but it's one thing if you don't understand something and you want to learn. It's another thing when you don't understand something, but you think that what you do know is the gospel. Like you don't want to hear anybody tell you why you might be incorrect or why there might be a better way. So a lot of times, so this is like a little quote. I mentioned something about football. I said, look, a lot of our kids, a child that plays football spends hundreds of hours a year at practice. I said, if he spent the same time learning how to start a business, then that child could be set for life, right? Think about this. Football, when I played football, we practice, say, 5 days a week, 2 hours a day. That's 10 hours a week. 10 hours a week over a 52-week period is about 500 hours a year. 500 hours. That doesn't include games and long practices, none of that, right? 500 hours a year I would spend practicing sports. Imagine if every black child spent 500 hours learning how to start businesses. Like you literally, like a time clock, like I used to do in college. And you said, you start at 9, we're going to mark it out. When you finish at 10, we're going to give you credit for 1 hour. If you start at 8 and you finish at 10 or 11, we're going to give you 3 hours. And you add those hours up and you have them do 500 hours, of training in entrepreneurship. Do you understand that that is a direct path that would literally help millions of our children leapfrog the wealth gap and have more wealth than white people? Do you know that if we did that with, say, 500,000 black children, if you did that with 500,000 black children, just by pure statistics, a certain percentage of those kids are going to be multimillionaires. So a couple of them are going to be billionaires. So you could transform the black wealth landscape with something as basic as that. And white people couldn't stop that from happening. There's nothing a white person could do to stop you from teaching your child about business. So anyway, so this is just an example where a guy was fighting me over sports or whatever and telling me sports would help him become more successful. I don't get mad. It's kind of like, they say, forgive them, Lord, for they know not what they do. So I just kind of look at it like we are damaged people. We are sick people in certain ways. And there are going to be some sick people that are going to say some things that don't make any sense. So basically, LeBron is predicted to be the next basketball billionaire. There's some images of him, looking rich and looking like an athlete and everything else. And he's a great guy. I have a lot of respect for him. And I'm not going to show this video because it looks like it won't play because I have to request access. But I actually want to show you guys a different video. But before I get to that, let me go to secret number 2. How to position your kids for financial greatness without discouraging their dreams. That's the reiteration. So you can allow your children to be economically successful, but you don't have to kill one dream to build up another one. Secret number 3, how to get your kids to stop wasting time on Snapchat and video games and to look into the stock market instead. One of the things you must understand is that time is more valuable than money. About 8.5% of our kids are addicted to games. Basically, the average 8 to 12-year-old now spends 13 hours a week playing video games, according to Metrics 2.0. The average 13 to 18-year-old spends 14 hours a week playing video games. I'm not saying that they should stop playing video games, but I want you to really kind of process that. And I want you to realize all the things that can be done with 14 hours a week. I mean, 14 hours a week literally is enough time for your child to become a genius at anything. Like literally. So when you look at, 3 million Black children who graduate from high school who can't read above a 3rd grade level, ask yourself, what if they took that 14 hours a week and were putting that time into reading? Will they be able to read just fine? So the question is, why are you getting mad at white people because your child can't read? Like, why would we get mad at other people because we're throwing away blatant opportunities? Obviously, there's an agenda to brainwash us, but we have people that can explain that. We have people that can break that down. We have people that can tell us what to avoid. So I think that we probably have to take some accountability for the outcomes of our children. If we don't do that, we're not going to get anywhere. So basically, Dr. Shauna Etienne, who was in the video earlier, the video that wouldn't actually pop up, but she's a great lady. She works in the Black Business School. She's a brilliant scholar. She had a son. He was brilliant, but he got kicked out of school. He got suspended because he was talking so much, because he was, he would ask questions. And he got in trouble for the same reason I got in trouble, because he didn't keep his mouth shut. When I was little, my mother used to say, boy, your mouth will either make you great or get you killed. I'm curious to see which one. So she literally, was telling me, you got a big mouth, you're going to get yourself in trouble. And I would get in trouble all the time in school. So Shauna's son got in trouble for the same reasons. And so, and this is not out of the norm. I mean, this happens to Black children everywhere. Basically, Black children are suspended more than other kids. Black girls are being suspended now. The Black male incarceration rate was super high, which is an extension of what happens in the school system. Black girls are actually, I think I had a friend that called me the other day. She wasn't even Black, but she called me the other day and said that the Black female incarceration rate of the last 15 years or something has increased by about, I think 200-300%, something like that. And a lot of the women are in jail actually because they can't afford to make bail. Like, it's literally silly stuff like that. So it's an economic issue that disguises itself as a criminal justice issue or a moral issue or a social issue. It's really economics. If these individuals had more money in their pocket, had more financial literacy skill in an early age, they probably would be in a different situation. Let me just say that. So basically, Dr. Claude Anderson says that the epitome of madness is to try to do the same thing over and over again while fully expecting things to somehow change. That's what we do. We are a mad, sick people because we keep doing the same thing over and over again. Every year we do the same thing with our kids when it comes to school. Every year we vote for the same politicians. Every year we engage in the same activities. And then we look back and we look at the statistics that show Black people have not advanced in 50 years. Why would you expect things to change? You haven't changed. Things won't change until you change. When you change, things will change. If you don't change, things will remain the same. When my life was something that I didn't want it to be, and I didn't make a change, then I got the same thing I had the day before. So I think that what leads people to think that you can do the same thing and have things change is that you're looking to something outside of yourself to make that change for you. And that's why some of the conversations on race kind of frustrate me. I saw Jada Pinkett Smith speaking at the Red Table talk about racism. And Jada's such a smart lady, and I like Jada Pinkett a lot. And I know Will Smith's family. I don't know Will, but I know his brother Harry very well. Very smart people, and I love them. I have so much respect for them. But I couldn't watch the conversation about racism because too much of the conversation about racism is all about getting white people to change their perspective. They were bringing in this white lady and saying, don't you realize this is wrong to treat Black people this way, and it's unfair, and the white lady was like, yeah, but I don't understand it, I don't see it, I don't know what to do, and it's just kind of like, why do we think that overcoming white supremacy is up to white people to let us overcome it? I think that if we believe that it's white people's job, or that white people will ever choose to allow us to move ahead of them or to catch up with them, I think that we're going to be in for a rude awakening. I think we're going to be very disappointed, right? So I tend to believe that changes in the condition of Black people will come down to the actions of Black people. If Black people change, then your outcomes will change. If you do not change, nothing will change, because white people will probably never stop being white. They've been white for a very long time. They're going to continue to be white. So the question is, for you, what does it mean for you to be black? So anyway, what wasn't working with Shauna was, and a lot of parents is, more video games, more sneakers, more sports activities, trips to the movies, spanking, scolding, all that. Shauna's a smart lady, Dr. Shauna. She said, I'm not going to just keep spanking my child. I'm not going to keep beating my child into submission. So she tried something different. She basically invested in the Black Millionaires of Tomorrow program to give her child something to do while he was at home every day because he was suspended. And then and she noticed instantly after he'd gone through the material, his thinking started changing. He found a new interest. He found a new outlet for his energy, and he became very interested in investing. So she loaned him some money, and he went and he invested. And she loaned him the money with interest. He paid the interest. He gave her collateral, and he started making money with stocks. And she said, I'd never seen a transformation in my son like this ever before. And I wasn't surprised one bit because I'm a black man and the educators I work with are black people. And I'm a fundamental believer that black people educate black children better than white people do. I just believe that. I don't know if that's racist. I don't know if that's, some sort of black superiority agenda. I don't know what people are going to label it as, but I just believe that all those kids that they say that they can't manage at school, all those little black kids that go to school every day and they're like, oh my goodness, we don't know what to do with Tyrone because he's out of control. I believe that 80% of y'all could sit down with Tyrone and get him to do things that his white teachers could never get him to do. I believe that 80% of y'all could do that. So I don't think there's any sort of magical superpower that we have to be able to educate our own children. I think it's nature. It's like a mom. A mom knows her babies better than the teacher does. Why is this like rocket science for people? In fact, we're the only community I can think of that really consistently sends their children to other people to educate them. Do you think you're stupid? Do you think you're not smart enough? So I wasn't surprised when I saw the behavior of the child change. So, who's the program work for? It kind of works for all the kids. Basically, we can educate any child at any level that wants to do anything. And so basically, Shauna loaned her son $500 to invest in the stock market. She made him apply what he learned on the actual stock market where he was making real money. So he put up his PlayStation and his TV as collateral against the loan. He also invested the money in the market to pay back the loan, and he made more than he originally invested. And basically, his love for the stock market became greater than his love for the video game. So his mama didn't have to actually take the PlayStation out of his hand. She let him continue to do what he wanted to do, and he began to follow his passion. I'm gonna tell you, y'all's little sons, when they learn how to make their own money and get that feeling of being a real man, you ain't gonna be able to stop them. They're gonna love that. I know I did. I got my first job when I was 12 years old and I was selling candy door to door. That's a horrible job, right? But I loved it. I loved making my own money. And once I did that, it was like I was in a different space mentally. My mother didn't have to make me go do it. I would ask her for permission to go do it. And so that's very easy. It's much easier to control a bull if you encourage the bull to go in the direction that it's already going. So basically, she says, after day 3, just having a conversation with her son, just talking about annuities, perpetuities, credit reports. What is a liquidable asset? He talked about collateral damage, tax brackets, all kinds of stuff. And she basically said that she loved what the program did. Now he's a top student at a top prep school in New Jersey, and he's kicking butt. And that's a picture of Shauna and her family. And I want to say thank you to Shauna for letting us tell that story. Because this is an example of the fact that the solutions for Black education are out there. The question is, are we really trying to hear all the solutions? I think that's the issue. So here's some things you discovered. Basically, why the old model, work hard, study hard, just doesn't work. We've also talked about beyond that, why just chasing the job is not the best approach. I hope you agree with me on that. I hope you understand what I'm saying. Let me know. Give me a yes if you agree that the JOB model does not work. 2, we agree, I hope, that we do not have to kill one dream to build another. If your child wants to be the next LeBron, cool. Encourage them to be the next LeBron, right? So let me know. Give me a yes if you agree with me on that. I think it's okay for kids to play sports. I played a lot of sports when I was a kid. I love sports. And I would have been very upset if my mother had taken sports away from me. It wouldn't have been fun for me. So I believe that you can do everything by doing what you love and then doing other things, finding other things that you can love as well. Most people want to get to the NBA and the NFL because they want to make money. Well, why not teach them all the different ways to make money? I know a lot of really great athletes. 99% of the great athletes I know never made a penny playing sports. 99% of the athletes I know never make a penny playing sports. But most of the great entrepreneurs I know are millionaires or close to it. Most of the people that I know who are as good at entrepreneurship as we are at sports are making more money than my athlete friends. I have a couple that are in the NBA and the NFL. Most of my friends were guys who maybe play college basketball and aren't making any money playing sports. Third, when it comes to video games and all that stuff, I know that that's tough because these are huge distractions for children, but I believe that there's a way you can mix the two together. And actually in the program, we actually have financial games that we lay out for you that we're actually developing some stuff in the background as well. But in addition to that, we have sort of databases on different things you can help them do on their phones and their apps where they can enjoy the social media, they can enjoy the games, they can enjoy all of that. I'm not going to take that away from them, but they can sort of see the business side of it, right? You always want to see the business side of everything you're involved with, so you know where the money is. The key to getting money is to know where the money's at, right? So the model works. So basically, if you model what works, then that means you probably have less suspensions, fewer calls from school. Kids won't be bored as much. You won't have as much wasted time. No more arguing at home as much as you had before. Not as much student loan debt. And in exchange for that, you'll have generational wealth. You have smart money moves, savings and investments. Your kids will become their own boss. You'll see your children want to own property. You'll see them trying to retire early. That'll be their big goal. That'll be their big dream. And that actually makes me think about a family I met. I met a brother and sister when I went to eat at this pancake house around the corner in Chicago. It's not too far from where I lived in Chicago in Hyde Park. And I met this I thought there were a couple, but they were actually siblings. And basically this brother and sister, they were talking about, like what they were doing financially. And the reason they came up was because I guess they had like seen my videos or something. And in Chicago, I get stopped a lot because that's where a lot of really wonderful people live in Chicago that follow what we're doing. They're part of our Black economic revolution. And the sister said, I just closed on my first house. And she was about 31 years old. I said, congratulations, that's awesome. And she said, yeah, but I expected to have my first house by 25 because my dad told us that we should have our first house at 25. So I was actually 6 years late. And I said, that's awesome. I love your father because he set standards for you. He set a standard. Because I know people that are 45 who ain't never had nobody tell them that they should stop renting, who ain't never told them that they should aim for something better, right? So I personally think that we kind of have to process that a little bit. And what I want to do is I want to show you a little clip. This is a little girl, Skylar. Skylar cooked. Skylar, I know her mom, Stacy, and Skylar is one of our Black millionaires of tomorrow. And this kind of shows you sort of the change in the thinking of the child once they kind of get exposed to making money. She's being interviewed on someone's Instagram.
It's your girl, Cynthia Rockhead, and I am here in Philadelphia shopping with Sky's the Limit. And as you guys see, they got some banging earrings, honey. She got Melanin is a Blessing, and then she got these Black Girl Magic earrings, honey, and I'm just all here for it. So let them know exactly what else we got because they need to know about your business, baby.
So we have cufflinks, we have earrings, we have necklaces and bracelets. We have this flask. A flask is pretty much a bracelet.
But you put Kool-Aid in there, right? Maybe some water.
Okay. It's pretty much a bracelet where you can put your drinks in. And we might get new things.
It's your girl.
Okay, so I wanted you guys to see that clip because I want you to pay attention to how Skylar, just her professionalism. She's 10 years old. I think now she's 10, and she's sort of learning basic things like branding. She calls herself Sky's the Limit. That's the name of her brand. If you're on Facebook, you couldn't see the video because it's on drboycetv.com. So if you want to see the actual slides and the clips and everything, go to drboycetv.com. So sorry, guys, you can't see it because I got you guys up here on this screen. So my apologies. You'll notice that number one, she goes by the name Sky's the Limit. So she has a brand. And then also you'll notice that, she was sort of showing her, her product, right? She was sort of showing, the things that she had to sell and doing it in a very professional way. And then on top of that, I don't remember how much she made, but I know she made a few $100s at that event. She was actually selling at the All Black National Convention. We've had tons of kids set up shop, just like the other vendors, and make more money in a day than they would have made in 6 months, from their allowance. Or more money in a day than a lot of people make on their jobs in working 2 weeks. You know, these are 12, 13-year-old kids. There was a kid that came to our last convention that made $3,000 in an hour. And what happens is that when children are exposed to that at an early age, it changes how they view everything. It changes what they want. It changes their value system. It makes them say, you know what? I don't think I really want to go and just work for somebody else my whole life. I think I actually want to try to do what I did when I was 13, except do it in a better way and actually find a way to make more money. So that's what you kind of want to do. What you do, the key to education a lot of times is really just exposing your kids to things so they have the opportunity to formulate new dreams. We only, unfortunately, we minimize the exposure of our children to the point where we only expose them to slave dreams. All they know is how to be the highest paid slave on the plantation. And that's all I knew as a kid. And there's no disrespect to my parents. My parents did a lot of things right, but that was one area where I want to do things a little bit different. So, so let me ask you a question. Do you think, that this is something that, based on what I told you today, that this is something that could benefit your family? I mean, do you think that this is something that your children could gain from? I hope the answer is yes. And if the answer is not yet yes, I want to keep working until the answer becomes yes. Because remember, we go to college at Syracuse University. I think the cost to attend a year at Syracuse, where I used to teach, is about $64,000 a year. It's not worth $64,000 a year. And we don't charge anything like that, nowhere near any crazy amount like that. But it's sort of like, I think the goal is to help us understand, when it comes to education, why there are better solutions that have a much lower cost. So with Black Millionaires of Tomorrow, I'm going to break this down for you so you guys can kind of know specifically what we're offering with this special program. And those of you who are already in any of the modules or any of the specific programs, we can make accommodations for you as well. Basically, we're going to do a 4-week masterclass. And the masterclass has a value of almost $3,000. And it's going to basically give your child more training in economics and business than they will get in 4 years of college. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. And so basically in week 1, we'll talk about everything a child needs to know about investing. In week 2, we'll talk about everything a child needs to know about money. Week 3, we go into the stock market. Week 4, we go into real estate. And when they're done, they'll know more about these different areas than the average college graduate. And then also, I've actually just finished my module with entrepreneurship. I just finished that training, and you'll be the first ones to get access to that as well. And so, who's this for? Basically anybody, even adults are enrolled in the program. So if you're an adult and you're not sure and this stuff makes you nervous, don't let it make you nervous. What should make you nervous is not understanding how wealth works. That should make you very nervous, because America is a poverty trap. America is built to keep certain people in poverty. And I think they do that by encouraging specific behavior that will continue cycles of poverty. So I'm going to encourage different behavior. That's what I do. So if your child can learn the lyrics to their favorite song, then they can learn stuff like this. It's not complicated. So here's a video of a little kid. Somebody sent me this video. I thought it was amazing what his dad has done with him in terms of wealth. Let me make sure that the audio that I'm sharing the audio so you guys can see this. You guys want to hear what this kid does. It's pretty amazing. If you're not watching on drboycetv.com, you want to see this video, just go to drboycetv.com. So here it goes.
All right. Tell me what the 3 basic human needs are.
Food, clothing, shelter.
Good deal. Good deal. Okay. So tell me, when it comes to sound financial planning, what are 2 fundamental principles to always remember? To do what?
Saving, investing.
Good deal. Okay, so when it comes to money management, saving, and investing, tell me what the 80-20 rule is.
Live off of 80% of your income, save 20% of your income.
Good deal, man. Okay. Tell me, what are the acronyms for CEO?
Chief Executive Officer.
Good deal, man. So what is Carter gonna do when he's grown?
Own my own business.
Okay, good deal, man.
All right. So what I want you to realize is that this is how you build economic soldiers. A lot of us get mad because we see Donald Trump and his family doing well financially and all this other stuff. And I don't care what nobody says. They do have money. That's why they got the private jets and all. Each of his children made about, I think, $50 to $70 million per year while he's been in the White House. And that's just talking about the money. I don't care about the politics. We're not going to talk about the politics. But I'm going to tell you, when you look at the history of people like him, especially with Trump, for example, in particular, his father spent a lot of time training him to be an economic soldier. And the only way you can defeat an economic soldier is you must create economic soldiers in your family. You must become one. And so if you don't do this, then you're going to lose. When Donald was 16 years old, his father sent him to military school for mental toughness. And he also just said, no matter what you believe, son, you're going to be in a fight. You're going to be in a war. You need to be ready to fight. So he drilled him on real estate and financial literacy and economics and all of this stuff. So again, and I think it's important to bring these examples up because, you're trained to only get caught up in the emotionality of everything. Like, oh, either I like Trump or I don't like Trump, or, oh, he's a racist and all that. And that touchy-feely crap is what they use to distract you from the real game. The real game is an economic game. So who cares if he likes you or not? Who cares if somebody is a racist or not? We're the only community that spends most of our time talking about what other people think about us. Think about that. Nobody else does that. I don't really see the Asian or the Jewish community spending all their time worried about what people think. Now, the Jews, of course, they have the Anti-Defamation League, so they will challenge you if they think you're anti-Semitic or whatever. But make no mistake about it, in the background, they are building arsenals of wealth and economic intelligence that will protect them in the event that they can't just shout you down. So anyway, let me keep going. Let me move to the next slide here. Let me see here. Okay, so what else do you need? Well, one of the other things we did put together is basically a lot of curated content and information and basically thoughts and analyses from experts on Black generational wealth secrets. If you go through all this material, again, once you're done, you get a certificate and all the stuff for your child, which is important for their own internal validation. They need this. They need to know that they graduated from something. So get that certificate, make sure you put it on the wall, make sure you remind them what it means, all that stuff. Just like when you buy them their first stock certificate, these symbols and this validation means a lot. Why does it mean a lot? Because if you're not careful, your child can go through life looking for love in all the wrong places. They go to white folks looking for these symbols and this validation. So when they're looking for love in all the wrong places, that's how they end up getting abused, right? So you don't want your child looking for love in all the wrong places. You want them to look for love from you. You want them to look for love from the community. When I talk about love, I'm talking about I'm talking about validation. I'm talking about symbolic, symbols that are, it's basically symbols that reflect what they've learned and what they've accomplished. Right? Almost the same way we have actors and actresses that'll give anything to get an Academy Award. Well, if Black children are scrambling and scraping and busting their butt to get the equivalent of a college degree at the age of 12, then what that does is that allows them to go through life saying, okay, I'm good. I've been validated by my community. I've been crowned by my community. So I don't need you to crown me. Almost like a little girl who says to, some thug, like, look, I don't need you to tell me that you love me. I don't need you to validate me or tell me that I'm pretty. My daddy been telling me that I'm pretty my whole entire life. So we must do that for our people, for our children, so they don't look for it from anybody else. So Black generational wealth secrets. That's basically where you get to hear from people like James Jamerson and his son Anthony. Mr. Jamerson is a great Black man. He comes to all the conventions, and I love this guy so much. He's so smart. He's part of the 48-hour business school, and he's a Black farmer, actually, and we know Black farmers are so important. And he talks a lot about his son and how he talks about wealth with his sons, and he brought his sons to the last convention. And this is what we want in our community. If you insulate your children, insulate your family, you don't have to throw them out to the wolves. Dr. Claude Anderson said that we're the only group of people that actually sends our children away to other people to get them educated and to get them what they need economically. That has to stop. So the Black Generational Wealth Secrets package has a value of about $4,000. What else do you need? Well, we've got something called the Young Money College Insider. One of the things I want you to understand is that I will never, ever, ever, ever in a million years tell you that you should not send your child to college. I think college is fine. I think college is, if that's the best option, that's something you should pursue. What I'm telling you is that you got to be careful about the debt. I think even the debt can be okay if you're going to make enough money to repay the debt. But most of our students cannot repay the debt. And also, they waste a lot of time in college that could be used to do things that are going to build their future. And so what I mean is that you have a lot of young Black kids go in college. They could have been the next Mark Zuckerberg, but instead they spent their time trying to practice for a step show, right? Or you have a lot of Black kids that could have gone on and become amazing scholars, but they're spending all their time engaged in the party scene and everything else. I got a lot of pushback when I was at the University of Kentucky because people thought something was wrong with me because I was a black man who wanted to study and read and wanted to learn. They literally thought something was wrong. They were like, why do you do this? Why are you studying so much? You're not having any fun. This isn't good for you. It's unhealthy. You're off balance. Like they talked about like it was a mental illness to be ambitious and black. And I resented that. I still resent that. So I don't want your children to go through that. So what we did was we put together the Young Money College Insider to kind of prepare them on different ways they can make money while they're in college, different ways they can make money while they're young, ways to transition into business-minded thinking at an early age so that you start developing the infrastructure necessary for your economic engine when you're a teenager, as opposed to thinking that you only are supposed to think about making money when you become an adult. That's a huge mistake. If you are preparing for the big game at the last minute, then you will never win the big game when it begins. You do not prepare for the Super Bowl 2 days before the Super Bowl begins. You start practicing months in advance. So basically with the Young Money College Insider, I'm a college professor. I've been one for 25 years. I will work with, in terms of this material, work with your child to make sure that they know everything they need to know to not only be a straight A student in college, but also how they can make money while they're in college and manage their money. In fact, a lot of college students ruin their credit in college because they give them these credit cards when they first start school, and they go out and they max out the credit cards. And next thing you know, the kids got bad credit for life. That happens to a lot of people. So you may say, is it too early to start talking about college and all that stuff? And no, that's not true. I mean, Malcolm X talks about education as the passport to the future. But what you must also understand is that it's the right type of education that actually matters. The wrong type of education does more harm than good. So, these are just other examples. There's a young lady, Journey, who's actually the daughter of a very good friend of mine. And she's started college. She's making money in college. She's got these subscription boxes she sells online, and she's making more money as a college freshman than most people are making with their jobs when they get out of school. I think that if your child gets the right preparation, they can actually go to college with money in their pocket. I didn't learn that when I was a kid. I wish I'd learned that. But when I did get to college, one thing I did figure out was that there was money. I called my mother when I was 19. I called my mother because I didn't have any food. And I said, I need you to send me some money. I don't have any food. And she said, why would I send you money? And I said, because I don't have any food. Because I was around my friends whose mothers were just sending them whatever they wanted. And then they would just sit around and do nothing, smoke weed all day or whatever. And I told my mom, I was like, well, you're my mother. You're supposed to send me money for food. She said, no, you can go out and make your own money. Now, again, she didn't know about entrepreneurship, but she did say, go get a job. So I didn't like it. It hurt my feelings. It made me mad. But I went out and I got a job. And what I found was that I was making more money working or getting by earning it on my own than I would have ever gotten by waiting on a check. See, because so a lot of our kids go to college, and what you have to be cautious about when you're just sending them money whenever they need it is that you're putting a financial burden on you and you're turning your child into a welfare recipient. No economic system can survive when a large percentage of people are relying on a small group of people to go generate all the income and take care of everybody. So some of you are in families like that where you are the tent pole of your family. You're the one making the money. You got 4 or 5 people, siblings, cousins, uncles, whatever, who are just living off of the money that you're bringing in as if they're disabled or handicapped. That's not how a good, strong economic engine works. An engine does not work when you got one component that works and the rest is dead weight. An engine works when all cylinders are firing and every part of the engine is contributing to moving the vehicle forward. So in your home, when you develop an economic engine in your household, you must ask everybody. I don't care. You ask the 5-year-old. You tell the 5-year-old, there's something you can do to contribute to the economic success of this household. Now, I'm saying this firmly and clearly because some of y'all grew up in a world of nonsense where you're led to believe that, oh, that's child abuse. That's not fair. You don't ask the baby to. No, yes, you do. You tell the 5-year-old you can sweep the floor. You want $1? Here, go clean your room and I'll give you $1. Oh, we carrying in our house. When it's time to carry in the groceries, you better not get out the car and go in the house. You better grab a bag. If you don't grab a bag, if you ain't got a bag in your hand, you do not come in this house. You understand? If you can't contribute, then you're being dead weight and you're dragging down the rest of the family. And a lot of y'all can't get ahead right now. Please somebody say something. Let me know I'm not the only person that's got a black family in here. A lot of y'all have a hard time getting ahead right now because you got some dead weight Negroes in your own house or in your own family who are pulling you down every chance they get. Because they have been led to believe that you are the tent pole, you are the Superman or the Superwoman, and they can't do nothing for themselves. They are disabled. Let me keep going. I'm gonna be quiet. Like I always say politically incorrect stuff. If you're on Instagram, it's about to end, but I'm gonna bring you guys back in. So if it disappears, just come right back. I'm gonna hit this button. If you're on Dr. Boyce TV, please hit the thumbs up button, the subscribe button. And also, if you like crazy black people like me and you want to actually be notified whenever I go live, take 1 second and text the word Boyce, Boyce, to 31996. Just text the word Boyce to 31996, and you'll be notified when I go live. So I'm trying to bring my friends back in from Instagram. Here we go. All right. So the Young Money College Insider, that package has a value of about $2,000. So what else do you need? Well, we actually have basically people that are working to gather as many resources as possible to help you find games. Remember, I told you that you want your children to stop messing with the games that don't help them and moving toward games that are actually going to benefit them. Same way, for example, when some of y'all grew up playing Monopoly and stuff like that, well, now they've got digital versions of these games, digital versions of apps and content and all kinds of stuff. And we're actually developing some stuff in the background as well. And so basically we have a guide that will help you to gather books and games and materials and resources and all kinds of stuff so you can have a business school in your house. All the other educational systems are harming black children. All the other educational systems out here that are publicly available are doing more harm than good. They're damaging the black community, damaging black people, killing opportunities, killing potential, killing futures. So that's why we're telling you that for the sake of your own family's safety, we argue that you should have your business school right there in your house. If you can even have your educational system in your house, you should do it. Again, in Denver, Colorado, there are a group of moms and group of dads that got together and said, we don't want our children going to these public schools every day. We're just going to do it ourselves. And working together, they're doing it, and they're doing it very, very well. So basically, we want to provide as many resources as possible to help you do this. So we actually provide a guide on financially savvy kids and stuff like that. And I'll show you guys another quick video. This is little Giselle.
Hey everybody.
Giselle is I think she's 9 now. I've known little Giselle since she's about 6. Giselle is also living her dream of entertainment. If you can't see the video, you can go to drboycetv.com and the video will show up there. Giselle is special because Giselle is a smart child who has dreams of doing all kinds of things, a lot of things related to entertainment, but also, she's understanding at an early age because of what her parents are doing, how the business of entertainment works. How do you sort of make that really work for you? How do you not just get on the stage and perform, because she's actually a little rapper and she's damn good at it. But not only how do you get on the stage and perform, but who builds the stage? How do you build the stage and produce the show? How do you finance the stage? That's where you get the real power. If you can finance the stage and build the stage, then you can always put yourself on the stage. Why do you think Oprah Winfrey is on the cover of every old magazine that's ever been issued? She puts herself on every single cover. It'd be April, it's Oprah wearing a blue dress with long hair. May is Oprah wearing a green dress with curly hair. June is Oprah wearing a pantsuit, with dreads or straight or whatever, locks or braids, right? Oprah does whatever the hell she wants on the cover of that magazine because she owns it. OWN, Oprah Winfrey Network. Harpo Productions is Oprah spelled backwards, right? Oprah's letting you know in subtle ways and not so subtle ways that, yeah, she's an entertainer, but she controls that segment of the entertainment industry that she's involved with. I don't think Oprah's ever been in a movie in the last 25 years where she was not an owner or an executive producer of that film. That's a mindset. So anyway, let me play this little video with Giselle. This is the future Oprah. This is the Oprah mindset.
Everybody, it's Giselle, and today I will be learning about the entrepreneurship functions. The card we'll be learning about from that box is the elevator pitch. The elevator pitch is not actually an elevator. It's actually a speech that is mainly 20 through 60 seconds long, which is probably as long as an elevator ride, and that's why it's called an elevator pitch. A brief speech that outlines an idea for a product, service, or project. The name comes from the notion that the speech should be delivered in the short time period of an elevator ride, usually 20 to 60 seconds.
Okay, so these are some of the concepts that your kids learn in the program, is little things like elevator pitches. Elevator pitches are a really important way to impress potential clients very, very quickly. It teaches your children about the importance of presentation, how to create opportunities by making a good first impression, which is different from, I grew up believing that opportunities were something that somebody would give to you. And what I learned is that actually people that present themselves well, they seem to get lucky a lot. They seem to get all the opportunities because just by the way they present themselves or present their idea, what happens is that people create opportunities just for them. So you might run into a billionaire who doesn't have a job opening at his company, but because your elevator pitch was so good and because he's always looking for great talent, he creates a job for you right there on the spot and says, here's my card, call me in my office on Monday. Whereas he might have met 20 other young people who are like, oh, I'm just a little kid, or oh, I'm just a college student. I'm not doing anything. One day I'm gonna be in the workforce. One day I'm gonna be a grown up. You're 21 years old, still talking like you're not a grown up till after you finish college. Well, some 17-year-old might have walked up to that same person and said, hi, my name is William Smith. I am the CEO of William Smith Technologies. We are a company located in suburban Philadelphia that helps organizations to develop websites that secure their brands and help them find new customers and blah, 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 right? Like presenting yourself that way can literally make the difference between somebody looking at you and saying, oh, that's just a little kid. You're so cute. Well, maybe one day when you grow up, you can reach out to me versus somebody saying, wow, I need people like you on my team. That's the biggest thing I learned about operating in a space with wealthy people is that, most of the wealthy people I know are looking for other smart people that they can work with who can help them to achieve their financial goals, right? So networking is a special type of skill that many of us don't understand how to do, because many of us only know how to call up the relative if we need money. Like, you got a cousin that's doing well, we know to call them up because we need to help getting the rent paid. Or we think of networking as, I'm going to get you in my Rolodex so I can call you and ask you for a favor on Tuesday. But there's a subtlety to networking, starting with the elevator pitch, among other things that many people do not know, that helps you separate from the pack. And these are things that I believe if children know these things early, then you'll find children doing the first step that they need to do to develop strong organizations, which is having the ability to develop productive relationships. When you develop productive relationships and strong networks, you then have the ability to form coalitions and partnerships that allow you to be economically secure. So a little girl like Giselle, who can give a good elevator pitch, who can present herself well, who is articulate at an early age, her parents have her doing reading, writing, math on a regular basis, she's going to be surrounded by lots of other people who are just like her, who are trying to be successful like her. And if you have eight people who are all trying to be successful, then none of those people will really fail because they have 8 people around them who are going to basically have their own versions of success that they can work with and partner with in order to achieve higher level objectives. That's better than being surrounded by a bunch of alcoholics or a bunch of people who just got out of jail or a bunch of people who, aren't trying to do anything, right? So little things like that should be taught to your kids at an early age. And I think that goes a very long way. And so we focus on this a lot. So you see here, now what else do you need? The last thing we'll throw in here is we actually have a private business builders club that we've developed within the Black Millionaires of Tomorrow program. It's part investment club, part Shark Tank-like environment where basically we want our kids thinking like business people early. We don't want them just learning concepts. We need them executing. We need them moving. We need them to understand their role as Black economic soldiers that are out here developing institutions that are going to benefit their families and their communities. So one of the things we want to do to incentivize that is we're creating a fund where we're going to basically have this fund available as a prize to young entrepreneurs who have the best businesses. So once they present their pitch and their pitch goes well, then we'll have judges that will evaluate, choose the best pitches, and then they will give them money to actually get the pitch off the ground. In addition to the money, we'll give them lots of free advertising. So we have a YouTube channel that gets about, I think last month, people watched 20 million minutes of video on my YouTube channel. I will put them on my YouTube channel. I will show the world how great their business idea is. I will say, here's little JoJo, JoJo's cookies, best business pitch plan I've ever seen. He won the prize. We just gave him a bunch of money, but also we want you guys to go to jojoscookies.com and start buying his product and do a cash mob on his business. I've done it a million times for Black businesses. It works. And that is the best way. The best way to have a great business is to have a lot of customers. Next thing you know, little JoJo never works for anybody ever again in his life. So let's keep going. Next. All right. So you add it all up, you got about $11,000 worth of value being thrown in here. So I want to ask you this question. Look, if all I did was give your family, a plan to escape the corporate plantation and to pursue financial freedom without worrying about your kids, squandering all the wealth and all that stuff, I want to ask you, would that be worth $11,000 to you? Would that be worth $11,085? Again, remember, most people spend at least $100,000 to go to college. If it costs you $11,000 to secure your family's economic future, would that be worthy as an investment? I don't know. Tell me, give me a yes if you agree. In fact, if you were to add up all the money you spent on fast food in the last decade or two, it goes well beyond $11,000. If you add up the money you spent going to the movies, if you add up the money you spent going out to dinner, you add up the money you spent buying cars, shoes, clothes, all that stuff, right? It would go far beyond that amount. Also, if all this did was give your children future opportunities and options that you didn't have, and allowed them to sort of have a focus in life to be successful, would that be worth $11,085 to you? Would that be worth it? Because literally, if you followed anything that I talk about, like the $5 a day investment plan, I've shown you guys how your children could be guaranteed to be millionaires if you invested half as much in your child's future as we put into our car notes. If your child was worth a car note, then your child would have no economic problems. It's not that hard to do. Again, this ain't, a white supremacy conversation, because white supremacy is not in the building. There is no white person telling me that I'm not allowed to talk to you guys about this. If all I did was help you turn your child into a millionaire by the age of 30, would that be worth $11,085? Give me a yes if you agree. Tanya says yes. I see Jerome says yes. And it's kind of, these are no-brainer questions, but I want you to kind of process this, because I kind of need you to kind of really understand it. I need you to really see it for what it is, as opposed to just seeing this as an expense. There's not an expense when it comes to education and learning the things you need to learn and doing the things you need to do to prepare for the future. At that point, you're out of the space of expense and you're into the space of investment. Investment is not the same as an expense. It's not the same thing. An expense is when you spend money and you get nothing back, right? An investment is when you put out money and you get more back than you put in. That's a very different line of thinking. So I want you to think about your children and their future, as well as your own future, not as an expense. I need you to think of it as an investment. If you want to talk about expenses, sometimes college becomes an expense, because you spend $100,000 and you go deep in debt and you can't pay back the debt because you didn't get any money back to repay the debt, right? Because you didn't get the job you were looking for, whatever it is, or this whole white education thing didn't work out for you. That becomes an expense, right? But if you make the right money moves early, you can make investments that will secure your future. So basically, I had a couple of choices with this, right? I could have went cheap. We could have made it easy and simple and basic, and we got basic stuff that's out there. And it's fine. I'm not saying you shouldn't consider that, but the problem is, while it would sell to the masses, it wouldn't be as effective, right? And so the second option was to really dig in. So I had my team. They spent hundreds of hours digging in, doing research, putting it all together, figuring out what people needed, looking at the community, solving the problem, not to mention the thousands of hours I've spent in my own life thinking about these things. And we put together something that is better than anything they'll ever get in college. So that's why there is a higher price point on this. But it's worth it. And so I'll tell you more about it. Right now, we have over 5,000 kids in our Black Millionaires of Tomorrow program. It's going very well. Now, the value, as I mentioned to you, of everything that's in the package will be $11,085. The price for the general public will be about $14.97. So we dropped that a lot. So that's already a tenfold decrease in the price to make it affordable for everybody who kind of agrees with what we're saying, who understands where we're coming from. But because you're here, because you're watching right now, basically the price today is dropped to $9.97. So, and in fact, not only is it down to $9.97 from $11,000, you can actually break it into a payment plan. So you can do 3 payments if you want, or you can pay the whole $9.97 all at once. The URL is right there. It's bmotkids.com/start. BMOT, that stands for Black Millionaires of Tomorrow. www.bmotkids.com/start. So anybody in here who's in the chat, who's from our team, put the URL in there. Anybody who's listening on Dr. Boyce TV or Facebook or anywhere else, if you could type in bmotkids.com/start. So for anybody that wants to start, please do that so other people can have the URL. This was something that we put together with the goal of making it powerful, revolutionary, innovative, different, impactful, etc. It took 25 years of me teaching at the college level for me to really understand the problems well enough to be able to deliver something. I think this is a game changer for people that want to be a part of this. Savvy says, be my kids. It's not be my kids, it's be mot, BMOT, bmotkids.com/start. So bmotkids.com/start. So the .com comes after bmotkids. So it's bmotkids.com/start. Okay. So you have two choices, right now, if you want to. It's up to you. You can do nothing. You can take a leap of faith. You can try to figure it out on your own. That's 100% risk-free, and it guarantees that everything will stay kind of where it is, like no change, no chance of anything really evolving in the way you want. Or you can make the investment today, which is small compared to the amount of value that you receive, small compared to what a lot of these universities will charge you when you send your children off to college. And it'll change your child's life forever. It's like my grandmother. My grandmother did things when I was a kid that shaped me into the man I am right now. She made little investments when I, many, many years ago that I didn't think were a big deal at the time, but it changed everything. My mother made little investments, like putting me in Black Achievers and exposing me to things that had a huge impact in my life later on down the line. So that's kind of what the option is. Now, the best part also is that we do another thing that universities would never do, because if they did it, they'd go bankrupt. We actually give a 30-day, 100% money back guarantee. That means if you're not happy for any reason, if you come in there and you're like, this is some BS, my kids aren't learning, I'm not seeing the transformation, then just hit us up. We will give you a full refund on your money, no questions asked, because we don't want anybody unhappy. We have tens of thousands of very, very happy students from the Black Business School. If you are one, please shout your name, say something, mention something in the comments, please. I would like for you to do that, because I want everybody to know the Black Business School is the new Harvard University for Black people. We have top-notch scholars from around the world who went to top universities, who have high-level degrees, who are teaching Black people the things that they're not learning anywhere else. That is why the Black Business School is the Harvard University for Black people. And I proudly say that, because we are damn good at what we do. And so the real question is, do you want to get started now? If you want, you go to bmotkids.com/start. The first 10 people that come in, the team didn't even authorize me to do this, but the first 10 people that come in, I'll just meet with you guys personally. I'll just bring you in. I'll reach out to you, and I'll try to get your phone number or something like that. Maybe I can call you, or at the very least, bring you in together digitally so we can have a private conversation. You can talk to me directly. Tell me exactly what you want to do with your kids, and I'll give you personal counseling. So that'll be for the first 10 people to sign up. I will personally speak to you about your children and help you do what you got to do to create a better future for yourself. Okay. So here's what you're going to get, just as a recap. You get the 4-week masterclass, which has a $3,000 value. The Black Generational Wealth Secrets, which has a $4,000 value. The Young Money College Insider, which has a $1,997 value. The Financially Savvy Kids Game, which is about a $97 value. And the Black Millionaires of Tomorrow Investment Club, which is a value of almost $2,000. That's $11,000. And you also, as a bonus, you can get access to the All Black National Convention live streams. That's for life. You can see them all, every convention. And it's important because the conventions are great spaces where lots of powerful Black conversations are happening. This needs to be the new Black TV. This needs to be what we watch instead of what we watch with mainstream media, right? And it's not just TV, it's educational TV. It's something that helps us and our families to become, connected to our culture. Again, you're already being indoctrinated into white supremacist thinking. I believe that we should have an equally passionate effort to indoctrinate our children into Black excellence thinking. Right. So the only way we can do that is by creating media and developing processes where we can reach people all throughout the world. So again, if you go to bmotkids.com, bmotkids.com/start, you can get started today. The price for you guys today in this conversation is $997 from the $11,000 price point that we talked about earlier, goes down to $997, or you can do the payment plan. So it's up to you. So that's it. Are you a dreamer or a doer? It's up to you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to shut this off and I'm going to answer questions. And I'd like to know if you guys have any questions. If you have a question, you're in the webinar, put the question in the Q&A section. I will answer the questions. And also, if you're on any other platform, please take a second, hit that like button, share button, and subscribe button. And thank you, Dual Victory, for sharing the URL. I appreciate it. And Michelle says, what about grandchildren? Well, let me say this. when I think about the influences that I had in my life that made the biggest difference for me financially, it actually came from my grandmother. My grandmother was the one who, she never went to college. She had a 2-year associate's degree. She was very proud of that. And even though she never went to college or anything, she played a huge role when it came to my thinking as a college professor. I remember, calling my grandmother before she died. I love talking about my grandma because that's how I keep her alive. I get emotional when I think about her, but I deal with that because I really like for her to be here. I like to believe that she's still sitting at home in Louisville, Kentucky, and I could go see her at any time. And I remember I called her because Ebony magazine, it was Essence magazine, had asked me to write an article about financial psychology, like the thinking behind making money and protecting money and all that. And I remember she said to me, she said, money is 98% psychological. And she said that if you think like a spender, you're always going to be broke because all that a spender does is spend more money. When they get more money, having more money makes you more of what you are. And if you think like a saver, you're always going to have money because when savers get more money, they save more. So what money is money doesn't change who you are. Money is not a changer. Money is an accelerator. It takes what you are and it makes you more of it, So ultimately, little things like that. And I incorporated that in my article and I did research, and a lot of the research confirmed what my grandmother said. So it was really fascinating how this grandma that I had all this wisdom, because she lived it. She lived it. She didn't go to a university and learn it. She learned it because her life was a testament to financial intelligence and responsibility. And I learned from her that how much money you make doesn't really drive where you are financially, because I saw where she would have people that made 3 times more money than her who were deep in debt, had bad credit, and would come to her to borrow money. You're making $80,000 a year. Why are you borrowing money from a lady who makes 20K? It's crazy. So anyway, so yes, to answer your question, yes, grandchildren, we have lots of grandparents that put their children in the program. It's a great, Christmas sort of thing. My grandmother used to give me savings bonds for Christmas and financial, education related gifts for Christmas. I think that's a great way to go as opposed to just buying a bunch of toys. Now somebody's asking, what is the promo code? The URL is BMOT, B as in boy, M as in Mary, OT as in OT, .com, or sorry, bmotkids.com/start, BMOT kids. That's one word, bmotkids.com/start. There is no promo code. If you go to that bmotkids.com/start URL, you'll be right there. Let me see. Somebody's asking, kid is asking, how long does it take to complete the program? My niece is now 13 years old. Is she too old? No. We have 80-year-olds who are learning in our kids program, because what happens is that the parents or grandparents will put their kids in the program and they'll find out that their kids are learning stuff that they never learned. So I tell them, I'm like, you do it too. Do it with your child. Like, because financial literacy is something where the whole country is behind in financial literacy. So there's no shame in that. It's a design process, design strategy to keep everybody financially behind. And so there is no age that's too old. The only age that's too old is if you already know all these things. If you already know all these things, then then maybe there's a more advanced process you can go through. But if you don't know these things, then you're not too old. Let's see. Can you still get the consulting if you do the payment plan? Yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, I want to do whatever it's going to take to make you happy. Student satisfaction is very high on my priority list, and I will hop in and talk to the students all the time, because that's just what I love to do, and I love trying to help people. Let's see. Derek Williams says, this is for the adults. What is your position on owning precious metals or ownership? I think precious metals are fine. I think it's a good thing to add on to your portfolio. I don't hear too many blacks talking about this asset class. Yeah, I mean, I think I own some gold. I own some other things outside of stocks and bonds and real estate and all that, and and businesses. Crypto. I own some crypto, right? Everybody ran away from crypto because they were feeling like the crypto market was like gonna die forever. And people that think that way, I think, don't understand how the investment cycles work. Every market crashes. Every market is gonna have a crash. The question is, can you stand the rain? Like New Edition used to say, can you wait it out? If you wait out the storm, then eventually crashes, they correct themselves. That's what's happened. At least that's what's happened in the stock market. There's never been a time where the stock market crashed and did not recover. So literally, when people are running away from the crash, you're actually creating an opportunity to make money actually, or there's an opportunity for people that are willing to go ahead and make that move. Let's see, does the access to the program expire? I don't think it expires. I think this is lifetime access. So yes, Ms. Crawford, you do have lifetime access, which is why the value is very, very high. The price isn't very high, but the value is extremely high. Will you have access to this discount in a week? Somebody said, I think in a couple of weeks. No, this is only available, I think, for the next 24 hours. So I don't think that they're going to make it available after that. It'll still have a price, like you can still sign up, but it won't be at this price. This is only for now. Let's see here. Okay, let me see if there are any more questions in here. Derek says, how do we get our kids more interested in the financial flashcards and learning programs like yours? What I do is I use old-fashioned bribery. I tell them, the kids in our house want a trampoline really bad. I don't know why all these damn kids want trampolines, but I just tell them, I'm like, well, in the world, people who are smart make money, and money is what you use to buy things like trampolines. So what I do is we play the financial flashcard game where I pull out the cards and I say, I want to see if y'all been studying. I'm gonna randomly grab a card. If you answer this question right, there's $5 in it for you. If you don't, then the game will be over until I decide to play it again. So I would go in, shuffle the cards, grab a card and be like, okay, what is liquidity? And if they can answer the question, they get money. If they can't answer the question, there is no money. And then I put the cards in the box and I say, okay, game over, right? And I do that. And I did that to them and they didn't like it because when I shut the game down, I shut it down. It was over. Like, no, ain't no second chances. Ain't no feeling sorry for nobody. Because I tell them, like, that's life. That's life. And I said them both in. I said, look, you need to understand, in life, opportunities don't always wait around for you to get ready. If you're not ready for the opportunity, it will come and it will go, and you will be spending the rest of your life regretting the fact that you didn't make a move. You weren't prepared. I said, people that get opportunities and take advantage of opportunities are people that have knowledge, that have been preparing, that have studied, that have done their homework, that know what's going on. People who are asleep are the ones who miss everything. And the reason a lot of Black folks miss opportunities is because half of us are asleep. We have a whole community. People make fun of woke Black people, whatever that means. Like, I'm financially woke, right? I like to think I am. They make fun of us, because we don't fit the mainstream. But when you're asleep, you sleep through everything. So that was the conversation I had with them. So I would encourage you to just old-fashioned, like, if you learn this, I'll give you $20. It'll be the best $20 investment you ever made. And why not do that? That's how life works. Why do we go to school and get another degree? Because we want to make more money. Who gets the most money? Who makes the most money in this world? People who know stuff. I think 80% of the world's wealth in the last 2 years was generated in Silicon Valley, which is filled with a bunch of geeks who spent 4 years in college sitting in front of a computer studying. So set them up mentally to understand that early. Like, knowledge is connected to wealth. If you're dumb, you'll be broke. If you're smart, you can get rich. That is as simple as that. So anyway, all right, so let me look in here and I'm gonna see if you guys have any more questions and I'm gonna let you guys go. The URL is bmotkids.com/start, bmotkids.com/start. Let me see if I can actually pull this up so you guys can see it and decide if you want to participate. I hope that you do. I guarantee it'll be the best investment you ever made. If it's not, again, we have the 30-day 100% money back guarantee to make sure that you're happy no matter what. And that's the URL on the screen. So you guys can write it down. It's right here. Just highlighted it, bmotkids.com/start. So go to the URL. Again, the first 10 people, I'll meet with you privately and talk to you about what's going on and, with your families and stuff like that. And everybody else still gets preferential treatment regardless. Let's see, James Wilson, Dr. Boyce Watkins, what I came up with, a plan, where you're at, how can I put it into action, what classes can I take to put my apps on the market. We have business school classes like Black Money 103, which is our entrepreneurship program. That's really good. Attorney Nicole Compton knows a lot about business, and actually Attorney Compton is helping me put together a law school for children right now. And we've got 25 Black lawyers who've all reached out to participate. We got an overload of attorneys applying to teach in the program. And basically, we want to teach children law. We want them to go to law school at the age of 7. if your children go to law school at the age of 7, they're going to be better than kids who go to law school when they're 25. That's all it is. Very, very basic, very simple ideas. Simple ideas. It's not genius. It just says, well, if you want to win the race, maybe if you start running before everybody else, you'll get to the destination faster. That's all I'm saying. That's all it is. All right. So I'm about to go, guys. Thank you very much. It was real. I love you. It was amazing talking to you. And to my team, I want to apologize for going off script in terms of, the things we planned on talking about. They're probably like flabbergasted when I started off with this story, but I like to keep things honest and real and break it down for you so you know what's really going on. And I believe that just by me talking to you and you look at me in my eyes and you just know, I hope that you know that this is for real. Like I'm in this in the sense that this is war. This is war. And everybody ain't ready to be a soldier. Everybody doesn't get it. Some people are just meant to be sitting ducks. Some people are, just that's all they know how to do is to be a slave. They don't know any better. And I guess that is what it is. But I'm talking to the people who understand it. I'm talking to the people who get it. I'm talking to the people who are ready. And I'm talking to people who are not afraid and the people who are willing to commit in terms of moving forward. And when I talk about committing, I'm not just talking about, this program. That's one type of commitment that we've talked about. I've told you guys about. I've been honest with you about it. But there's a deeper commitment in terms of, are you willing to take that chance of breaking away from a lot of the things that you've been taught, a lot of things that you've been told? Are you willing to go off the beaten path? When I went to China, I met a family of Mormons, a beautiful family of Mormons. They were an interracial family. It was a white man, a Korean woman. They had 2 children, and then they had adopted 2 African-American babies, one from Alabama, one from Georgia. Beautiful kids, beautiful family, beautiful people. And I was talking to them about one of the stories that I just, that inspires the hell out of me. And it was a story of Brigham Young. And Brigham Young, who was one of the leaders in the Mormon community, is one of the first people. They named a whole university after Brigham Young University. I said that story of Brigham Young is one that I often share with Black people because Brigham Young was going through extreme persecution as a Mormon. Nobody liked the Mormons. They would just beat them up, say horrible things to them, attack them, kill them, whatever. And and he could have done what I see a lot of Black folks doing. He could have sat around and screamed Black Lives Matter. He could have sat and kept voting for the same politicians who were allowing the lynchings to happen. He could have sat there and just prayed, to white Jesus in hopes that maybe perhaps, things are going to get better. He could have went to the people that were killing him and beating him and said, hey, why don't you be nicer to us? Why don't you understand us? Because it hurts our feelings when you come and beat us up. But he didn't do that. And he didn't have to go start a war. He didn't have to go fight anybody physically. He just said, you know what? We ain't got to be here. We're out. So you know what he did? He got about 250 families that had just had enough. They were sick of it. And they all packed up their little covered wagons and they went out west. And he said, we don't know what's out there. There's probably animals, maybe some Native Americans that might want to kill us. They're, for good reason, right? Because, y'all know the history of that, right? There's not enough food. Some of y'all might not make it, which a lot of them did not. And he said, but we're going to go and make the sacrifice in this generation to create something better for our children and our grandchildren. So they went out west and they went out looking for the Great Salt Lake. They said, we're going to go to the Great Salt Lake and we're going to settle down at the Great Salt Lake and we're going to build our own. We're just going to put all that behind, get away from the people persecuting us and just build our own. Starting off with nothing and owning it is better than having a piece of everything and going through the hell that we were going through when we're living with people that want to oppress us and want to harm us and hate our guts, right? That's what they said, and it reminds me of like a friend I had that had a divorce who said she told her husband pulled this whole like, well, nobody's going to want you if I don't want you. And if you can't afford this house on your own. And she told him, she said, I will live in a cardboard box on the street before I'd spend another minute in a house with you. She wanted her freedom that bad. She had to get to that level before she could realize that she actually could make it through and be a survivor and survive without this man in her life. And a lot of us are like that. We're afraid of leaving those abusive situations because we don't know what the future will hold if we do the courageous thing. So we'll stay in a horrible situation and try to find a way to be comfortable, as opposed to doing what we know that we really need to do in our heart. So and that's what it is with white supremacy. We're in an abusive relationship with white supremacy. That's what it is. And so anyway, Brigham Young took these 250 families out west to the Great Salt Lake, where there was nothing. There wasn't no jobs, wasn't no food, wasn't no air conditioning, wasn't no nothing. And they did it, and they set up shop and started building their own businesses. Well, if their kids needed to go to school, they had to open a school. There wasn't no school district out there they could sign their kids up for. When they needed food, they had to learn how to plant the food. When they had to learn how to hunt, they had to learn how to take care of themselves. And about 150 to 200 years later, that little city they went to, the Great Salt Lake, is now a place called Salt Lake City, which is one of the richest cities on earth. If you look up the total wealth of Salt Lake City, Utah, you're talking about wealth in the trillions, I'm sure. And so my thing for Black people is I'm looking for, maybe 250 families that are ready to get in a covered wagon and go out and look for the Great Salt Lake. And I can't promise you that the journey is going to be easy. I can't promise you that everybody's going to survive. I can't promise you that it's going to go the way we expect it. I can't promise you anything, because some stuff I don't even know. I don't even know how this is going to play out. All I know is that there's a point where you got to say enough is enough, and I'm done with this. I'm ready to try something different. And that's what if you want to know what I'm doing, if you want to know what my life mission is right now in this world, why I even exist, why I'm breathing in front of you today, why my mother, at 17 years old gave birth to me instead of getting an abortion, which is what they told her to do. If you want to know why I'm here, I believe that the reason I'm here is to share that message with you in such a way that I believe that in 100 years, we will be in a different place because we started making different choices. That's why I'm here. I'm here to share that message. And I do believe deep down, it is a message from God. I make no apologies from that. So I'm done talking. I'm going to go because I'm losing my voice and I'm getting all emotional and stuff. And I'm not trying to get on here and cry like a baby because I'll look stupid. But anyway, so here's the URL for the program. If you're interested, you want to take a look. It's bmotkids.com, bmotkids.com /start, the word start. So let me pull it up in case you don't see the URL. Let me see. Actually, there we go. I'll pull it up on the screen so you guys can see it. Well, actually, it isn't on the screen. But either way, I'm going to go ahead and go. So somebody please type that in, bmotkids.com /start. It'll make a difference for your children. There's a 100% money back guarantee if you're not happy for any reason, but you're going to be happy. You're going to love it. And it'll be a far better investment than any university that you send your children to. I guarantee you that. So take care, guys. I love you. Thank you for giving me your time and your consideration. I appreciate you very much. And I'll see you soon. Have a good evening.